Chapter 656. Chu Kuangren's Emperor's essence increased again. That made Jian Feng's expression change. The quality of Chu Kuangren's Emperor's essence had far surpassed his. Only a top-tier Emperor's essence could possess such power. No, even a top-tier Emperor's essence rarely had such power. How many surges of Emperor's essence did he use when he formed his Emperor's essence foundation? 1,000 surges? 2,000? Or even more? Jian Feng's expression turned grim. There were many factors that affected an Emperor's combat strength, but the two most important ones were the Emperor's Dao and Emperor's essence. In the same realm, if one was stronger in these two aspects, they would have a greater advantage and could even challenge someone of a higher realm. Now, Chu Kuangren's Emperor's Dao and Emperor's essence were stronger than Jian Feng's. Not only that, but Chu Kuangren had also mastered the mysteries that only a few emperors could master. With that, it would be difficult for Jian Feng to defeat Chu Kuangren despite his higher cultivation realm. In fact, he might even lose. Heaven-slaying sword drawing technique. Chu Kuangren raised his arm and unleashed a sword attack. The sword chi howled like a mountain torrent, causing the void to tremble. Its power was so strong that it even caused ripples in the real world. Jian Feng let out a low growl as he channeled all of his Emperor's essence and Emperor's essence to its limit. When he unleashed a sword attack, a large number of Taoist patterns intertwined and formed a giant white sword shadow. Emperor Technique, Torrential Sword Flow. The two great Emperor techniques collided, causing the void to tremble and the surrounding spatial turbulence to be torn apart by their sword chi. In the end, Jian Feng could no longer withstand the power of the heaven-slaying sword-drawing technique. He was blasted away by the sword chi, and the Taoist patterns on his body showed signs of breaking. It seemed like he was injured quite badly. "I've lost this battle." Jian Feng did not try to hold on any longer. He immediately admitted defeat. Chu Kuangren did not kill him. He did not want to cause any more trouble before he had a clear understanding of the situation. He retracted his aura, opened a spatial crack and returned to the real world. Jian Feng followed suit. They were still in the Black Heaven Sect's territory. Chu Kuangren glanced at Jian Feng and said, "If you want to continue attending the wedding, I don't mind. After all, you've given me a gift." After that, he turned around and walked towards the longevity hall. "Humph." Jian Feng snorted coldly and followed after them. He stared at Chu Kuangren's back with a curious look in his eyes. How could a new emperor possess such terrifying combat strength? What other secrets did this guy have? After the wedding banquet, the guests gradually dispersed. Night. The bright moon hung high in the sky, its moonlight like water. Chu Kuangren was sitting cross-legged on his bed with a sword ray circulating within his body. Upon closer inspection, one would realize that it was a white jade-like sword ray. That was Kunwu. At that moment, Chu Kuangren was trying to upgrade his descendant self-sword's grade. He had been using the Kunwu sword since the beginning of his cultivation, and it had experienced all kinds of extraordinary things, such as merging with the sword soul and absorbing the Saint Purple Chi. It was no longer the same as it was at the beginning. Now Chu Kuangren had become an emperor. This sword could have long been upgraded to an imperial armament. Chu Kuangren was now using his own emperor's chi to nourish descendant self. Soon 10 days had passed. On this day, the Kunwu sword let out a soft cry. A powerful sword pressure came from the sword, causing all the swords on the mysterious Heaven Sword Mountain to tremble. The Kunwu sword had officially become a sovereign weapon. After so many years, you've finally become an imperial armament. In that case, please guide me in the future. Chu Kuangren chuckled as he ran his finger across the descendant self. The descendant self trembled slightly in response. Chu Kuangren even felt an excited consciousness, which belonged to the descendant self. The descendant self was a sword with a life of its own. After all, not every weapon had a soul. Even an emperor armament would find it difficult to give birth to a soul. At most, it would only have a bit of spiritual consciousness. However, the descendant self had merged with the sword soul and the Saint Purple Chi, so it had a complete soul that even an emperor armament did not have. Therefore, Chu Kuangren never treated the descendant self as an ordinary tool. Instead, he treated it as a true combat partner. Although he had obtained many emperor armaments, including many swords that were more powerful than the descendant self, he had never thought of replacing it. He kept the descendant self and tied it back to his waist. He then walked out of the room. Meanwhile, in the towering Heaven Palace's courtyard, the three new emperors, Lan Yu, Murong Xian and Ling Ningyu, were gathered together and sparring. 3 types of gorgeous Taoist patterns intertwined in the air. Beside them, Lil Bing, Nangong Huang, Shang Qingxue, and the others were watching attentively, experiencing the sparring session with their hearts. Chu Kuangren was also watching from the side, and he used his eye of revelation to check out the three's cultivation realms to determine their combat strengths. Among them, Lan Yu was the strongest. Her Emperor essence had reached the top tier, and her Dao had also reached the flawless grade. Next was Leng Ningyu, who had a mid-tier Emperor essence while her Dao was at the top tier. Perhaps it was because of their Daoist physiques. Murong Xian, on the other hand, had a lower-tier Emperor essence and a normal Emperor Dao. After watching that exchange, Chu Kuangren did not disturb the three. His figure disappeared on the spot and reappeared at a mountain 10,000 kilometers away from the Black Heaven sect. His Emperor's thoughts scanned the area, and after making sure that no one was around, he took out the female Emperor's head. He took a deep breath and removed the talisman on it. Chu Kuangren sensed a strange fluctuation spreading out. "I hope everything goes well," he murmured. This time he was here to meet the headless female Emperor. To be precise, that person's name was Luo Shui. He was the Chaos Daoist Master's disciple. As the fluctuation from Luo Shui's head spread out, a figure soon tore through the void and appeared before Chu Kuangren. That figure did not have a head. It was one of the Firmament Star's 7 great mysterious stories, the Headless Lady. In other words, Luo Shui Empress. When she sensed the fluctuation from the head in Chu Kuangren's hand, Luo Shui Empress immediately attacked him without saying a word. Her terrifying Dao had condensed into Daoist patterns in the void. "She's so strong. Compared to the last time we met, she's even stronger." "No, it's not that she's stronger. Ever since the Firmament Star's heavenly Dao became stronger, it can now contain even more power," Chu Kuangren murmured. Luo Shui Empress had not unleashed her full power before this. That was because the Firmament Star's heavenly Dao was damaged, so it could not contain all of her power. Now that the heavenly Dao had been repaired, she could unleash more of her power on the Firmament Star. Naturally, her power had become stronger. Heavenly Reversal. Chu Kuangren raised his hand and activated his technique of invincibility. When the two forces collided, a terrifying shockwave spread out like a tidal wave, causing the mountains and rivers within a 10,000-kilometer radius to tremble. Cracks began to appear in the void. Chu Kuangren and Luo Shui Empress were both forced to retreat. Compared to the Sword Tempest, Qin Yu is even stronger. She's still so powerful even without her head. If she were to recover, her strength would at least be at the full success, no, a full emperor? Chu Kuangren activated his Eye of Revelation and analyzed the Headless Empress. Now he could already see more information about her. He could tell that she was at least a full emperor when she was at her peak. Her Emperor's Essence and Emperor's Dao were both top-tier and perfect. Top-tier Emperor's Essence and Dao of Perfection. Among the emperors, it was an extremely rare existence. "Stop, I'll return your head." Chu Kuangren tossed the head in his hand away. Luo Shui Empress immediately caught it and did not attack again. Instead, she immediately pressed the head back onto her own. The moment the head came into contact with the head, Chu Kuangren could clearly see a faint blood-red light emitting from the wound. The flesh and blood were quickly fusing back together. "I can't believe it can be reattached," Chu Kuangren exclaimed. Chapter 657. The Luo Shui Empress, who had reattached her head, suddenly opened her eyes, and an unparalleled emperor's aura spread out crazily like a tide. Chu Kuangren channeled the emperor's qi within his body and withstood the domineering aura. The Luo Shui Empress glanced at Chu Kuangren. Just when Chu Kuangren was about to say something, the other party lifted his hand and tore open a spatial rift before disappearing without a trace. So fast. Chu Kuangren shook his head helplessly. He thought for a while and guessed that his opponent had probably found a place to recover. "If there's a chance in the future, I'll give the Chaos Imperial Sutra to her," Chu Kuangren muttered. The Imperial Scripture that he was referring to was naturally written by the Chaos Dao Master, who had entrusted him to hand it over to Empress Luo Shui. However, this was also good. This Chaos Imperial Sutra was broad and profound. If he left it with him for the time being, he could take the opportunity to properly comprehend it. After dealing with Empress Luo Shui, Chu Kuangren returned to the Black Heaven sect and temporarily went into closed-door meditation to learn the Chaos Emperor scripture. This was compiled by the Chaos Daoist Master. An emperor like the Chaos Daoist Master had such a deep understanding of the Dao that even Chu Kuangren benefited greatly from it. He extracted the essence from it and continued to perfect his own Dao. The Chaos Dao Master had once said that it was extremely difficult for an emperor's Dao to improve without a great opportunity. However, that was only when compared to the other emperors. He did not know how terrifying Chu Kuangren's level of understanding was. Things that were impossible in the eyes of others were often realized by Chu Kuangren. For example, after comprehending the Primal Chaos Imperial Sutra this time, he had gained a lot of experience, and his Tao of invincibility had actually improved a little. Not only that, but his esoteric technique had also improved greatly. Profound mysteries were the same, but they also had different qualities. Similar to Emperor Essences, the invincible technique was also divided into 5 grades: lower tier, middle tier, top tier, supreme tier, and ultimate. Chu Kuangren's invincible technique was only a beginner lower tier technique, but it had now reached the top tier level. Top rank profound mystery. Even some Empyreans might not be able to grasp it. Looking at the time, it's about time to go to the Snow Dragon Mountain, Chu Kuangren muttered. The Snow Dragon Mountain was one of the 10 forbidden grounds. Before Chu Kuangren entered the Emperor's Road, he had once visited the boundary emperors in this area and conversed with them. Therefore he was familiar with this place. The Snow Dragon Mountain was covered in snow all year round. It snowed for at least 300 days a year. The mountains rose and fell like a dragon. Hence, it was named the Snow Dragon Mountain. On the highest dragon head peak of the Snow Dragon Mountain, a palace made of ice rose from the ground. It was grand and majestic. Chu Kuangren, Lan Yu, Leng Ningyu, and Murong Xian had also arrived at the entrance of the palace. Zi Wuji was there too. When the man saw Chu Kuangren, he immediately bowed to him. "Greetings, fellow Taoist Chu." "You're welcome, fellow Taoist Zi." Chu Kuangren smiled. He could tell that Zi Wuji was somewhat cautious around him. It was obvious that he had killed 4 new emperors on the Mount of Emperors. This incident had not completely disappeared yet. Becoming a martial emperor was Zi Wuji's greatest pursuit in his life. He had thought that he would be able to rest easy after becoming a martial emperor, and he would be able to transcend freedom. However, he did not expect Qin Tianqin and the others, who were both emperors like him and were even stronger than him, to be killed by Chu Kuangren one by one. This matter had a huge impact on him. So much so that he still had a lingering fear when he thought about it. If he had attacked Lan Yu and the others from the Black Heaven sect back then, there would be another dead body on the Mount of Emperors. Boom! At that moment, the palace's door opened. A surge of chilling qi gushed out. "Come in." An indifferent voice was heard. Chu Kuangren and the other 3 walked straight into a great hall. A group of emperors was gathered here. Zi Wuji was secretly speechless. Every emperor here was a veteran emperor, and their strength was much more terrifying than his. "You're finally here." Leng Xen walked up and smiled. "Senior, we're here. Is there anything we need to tell you?" Leng Ningyu bowed to Leng Xen. Don't be so formal. Besides, I've already said that we can just talk as peers from now on." Leng Xen chuckled. She said, "Let's find a place to sit first." Chu Kuangren and the others found a seat. At the same time, they were secretly observing the emperors, and the emperors were also curiously sizing them up. After all, it had been a long time since the emperors had new blood. Are these the new emperors? Why are there only 5? I remember there were 9 new emperors on the Mount of Emperors this time. Where are the others? I heard from Qin Yu that they were killed by one of them. Oh. Hey, that young immortal-like emperor in white clothes. Don't underestimate him, he's not as simple as he looks. Yeah, I've heard about him too. Not long ago, the underworld demonic realm wanted to invade the firmament world, but they were stopped by this person. The emperors were curiously sizing Chu Kuangren up. Meanwhile, Chu Kuangren activated his Eye of Revelation and scanned through each of the emperors present, analyzing their information one by one. In the end, he was a little disappointed. In the past, the divine predictor had brought a group of emperors to express his gratitude, but none of those emperors were here. Obviously, the emperors before him were only a small portion of them. Not only that, these emperors were not very powerful. The strongest among them was only a complete emperor. There was not even a heavenly honorable among them. Not to mention the strongest Tao Lord. Apart from that, Chu Kuangren also noticed that one of the emperors with golden scales on his forehead was glaring at him with hostility in his eyes. That person was from the Kirin clan, and his name was Dark North Black Color. Emperor of the Kirin clan, I hope you won't mess around. Chu Kuangren placed his hand on the descendant self-sword's hilt and said, "Sorry for the long wait." At that moment, a voice was heard. A man and a woman walked in. This man had a dignified appearance, and his black hair draped over his shoulders. He wore a white brocade robe, and the woman beside him was graceful and luxurious. There was a faint cold aura emanating from her body, which was exactly the same as the aura of this ice palace. Starform Emperor, 9th level Emperor. Frost Jade Emperor, 7th level Emperor. Chu Kuangren scanned them with his eye of revelation. They were two absolute circle monarchs, especially the star transformation great monarch, who was in the 9th layer of the early emperor realm and was the strongest among them. The two of them behaved intimately like a pair of Taoist companions. Greetings, Starform Emperor. Upon seeing the Starform Emperor and his companion, the emperor stood up and bowed. The emperor smiled and nodded. Then he sat on the main seat in the great hall and smiled at Chu Kuangren and the others. You are the new emperors of this era. I know you have many questions and I'll answer them one by one. Why didn't the emperors come out before? Ziwuji was the first to ask. The heavenly Tao is incomplete, so we can't use our powers within the firmament star. Even in the 9 heavens there are some restrictions. What about now? The heavenly Tao is complete. What's the extraterrestrial battlefield? It was not Ziwuji who asked that question. It was Chu Kuangren. Upon hearing the words extraterrestrial battlefield, everyone's expression turned solemn. The celestial condensation great emperor said, "This is also the most important piece of information that I want to tell you. That is, firmament star is currently facing a calamity that has lasted since ancient times and has been going on for 12 eras." Chapter 658. A calamity that lasted for 12 eras, huh? Chu Kuangren murmured. An eras was 129,600 years. 12 eras, that was more than 1,000,000 years ago. What kind of calamity could last until now? Ziwuji and the others could not imagine it. They felt that they had come into contact with the deepest secrets of this world. A long time ago, a group of extraterrestrial visitors appeared outside Firmament Star. They called themselves the Blood Tribe, and their goal was to enslave Firmament Star and turn us into their slaves. Because of this, the emperors and the Blood Tribe started a war. In the end, they stopped the Blood Tribe from entering Firmament Star, but they also paid a huge price. Aside from the sacrifices of countless sages, the heavenly Tao was also damaged during that war, and it deteriorated day by day. As the number of emperors decreased, the post-celestial Taos entered a dormant period in order to recover its strength and repair itself. After many years of self-evolution, it gradually recovered and formed 9 emperor thrones in one go. This is also the real reason why there were no emperors in recent times. The extraterrestrial battlefield is where we fought the Blood Tribe. It's located outside Firmament Star, so it's called the extraterrestrial battlefield. The Star Condensation Emperor explained. Everyone was shocked. Although the Star Condensation Emperor did not say much, the information contained in his words was extremely huge. Chu Kuangren was also deep in thought. The Blood Tribe first appeared 12 eras ago, which was probably when the War of Defiance Gods had just ended. Was it because of the Blood Tribe's invasion that the emperors did not have the chance to rescue the Chaos Taoist Lord, causing him to be trapped until now? Are the emperors in the extraterrestrial battlefield? Chu Kuangren asked again. Some of them are guarding the 9 heavens. The 9 heavens is a space created by the emperors, and it's also one of our lines of defense against the Blood Tribe. The reason we came to Firmament Star this time is to make arrangements. After all, now that the heavenly Tao has recovered, more emperors will be born in the future and we will guide them here. Besides, the most important thing is to keep an eye on the deities that are sealed here. We must not let them create chaos. The Star Condensation Emperor said. Deities? What are they? The God of Light? Ziwuji asked curiously. He felt that what he had seen and heard today was too much. He estimated that he would need some time to digest it when he returned. The God of Light is just one of them. Before resisting the Blood Kindred, there was a war against the gods. Like the Blood Kindred, the gods who tried to enslave the human race were defeated and sealed in the endless void. The seal has been gone for a long time, and with the recovery of the heavenly axiom, we are afraid that these gods will break the seal, so we came here to guard. Star Transformation Great Emperor answered everyone's questions. Then he waved his hand. A gigantic 2D map appeared before everyone's eyes, and there were many places on this map that Chu Kuangren was familiar with. For example, the 10 Great Forbidden Grounds, the encampments of the various great orthodoxies, and so on. This was the map of the Firmament Star. Alright, let's discuss the place we will be looking after. Star Transformation Great Emperor smiled. Chu Kuangren did not know if it was an illusion, but he noticed that the Emperor's eyes lit up the moment the Firmament Star's map appeared. The ocean is the Kirin tribe's territory, so let me look after the ocean, Emperor Dark North of the Kirin tribe said. That won't do. There are at least 20 gods sealed in the ocean. How can you look after all of them alone? Let me look after half of the ocean for you, one of the emperors said. There's no need for that. I can handle it alone. Of course. How can I let you do it alone? Then let me look after the Nether Abyss Valley with a radius of 8 million kilometers. The Nether Abyss Valley has a radius of 8 million kilometers? Hey, you sure are arrogant. I'll give you a maximum of 4 million kilometers. This place is not bad. It's rich in spiritual chi. After the recovery of the heavenly axiom, it will definitely give birth to many treasures. Ahem, no, the god that was sealed here is very powerful. It's a ferocious deity, so let me look after it. The emperors were planning out the places they were going to look after, but Chu Kuangren and the others felt a little strange watching from the side. That was because these people did not look like they were going to complete a mission. Instead, they looked more like they were dividing territories. That's right, they were dividing territories. The more Chu Kuangren looked at them, the more he felt that way. Did these emperors come to the firmament star to divide their territories? Brother Chu, the Black Heaven sect is your orthodoxy, right? That place of yours isn't very good. There are 3 gods sealed within a radius of 7 million kilometers. Why don't you let me look after it for you? At that moment, an elegant white-robed man said to Chu Kuangren, Brother Bai, didn't you say that you're going to look after the soaring snow mountain? Why are you eyeing the Black Heaven sect now? Brother Chu, my cultivation level is higher than his, so let me look after it for you. Stop fooling around, you two. Both of you have your own territories to look after. Brother Chu and I will be in charge of the Black Heaven sect. The few emperors surrounded Chu Kuangren and kept arguing. They looked like they wanted to share Chu Kuangren's burden. Murong Xian and Lan Yu looked at them strangely. Chu Kuangren had a mocking look on his face. He felt like he had understood something. Everyone, the Black Heaven sect is my orthodoxy, so you don't have to worry about it. Lan Yu, Murong Xian, let's leave. Chu Kuangren said and was about to leave with his people. Hold on, Brother Chu. The gods sealed near the Black Heaven sect are not to be underestimated. You've just ascended to the Emperor realm, so I'm afraid they won't be easy to deal with. Let me look after them for you. The scholarly man in white robes said relentlessly. There's no need for that. Brother Chu, please reconsider. The white-robed man's expression darkened as he said. Murong Xian and Lan Yu were even more confused. What are these emperors up to? Why are they so obsessed with the Black Heaven sect? Is there anything that they value? Is it because of those sealed gods? Since we've already said so much, there's no need for you guys to be so secretive anymore. Let's get to the point. The reason why you guys came to Firmament Star is because of the resources here, am I right? Chu Kuangren asked. The Emperor's eyes flickered, and the place suddenly became quiet. What kind of resources are there on the Firmament Star that the Emperors are so interested in? Ziwuji asked, puzzled. There might not be any now, but that doesn't mean there won't be any in the future. The heavenly Tao has been revived, and the spiritual chi between the heavens and earth has become more abundant. As the origin of the heavenly Tao, the Firmament Star's advantage is not something a man-made space like the 9 heavens can compare to. There are bound to be all kinds of treasures and opportunities of fortune in different places. Perhaps it's true that you've come to the Firmament Star to look after the gods' sealed grounds, but I'm sure it's more for the treasures and opportunities of fortune that will be born in the future. The places that you've chosen are mostly places with abundant spiritual chi in the Firmament Star, because the chances of treasures and opportunities of fortune being born in these places are higher. As for why you're so obsessed with the Black Heaven sect, it's because the Black Heaven sect is the dwelling place of the godly phoenix. The godly phoenix is a divine beast loved by the heavens and earth, and she possesses great fortune. The place where she resides is even more prosperous, so there's a higher chance of treasures being born. I wonder if I'm right, Chu Kuangren said. A hint of disappointment flashed across his eyes. So these are the emperors? He had learned from the Chaos Taoist Lord that many human sages had fought valiantly for the freedom of the human race against the gods. To him, those sages were the true emperors. As for these so-called emperors in front of him, they were using the name of looking after the gods for personal gain, but they still acted so secretive, as if they were afraid that others would see through them. I can't even be bothered to spend another minute with them. Chapter 659. At Chu Kuangren /s words, the emperor's faces turned grim. Lan Yu, Ling Ningyu, and the others finally understood. So that is how it is. Let go. Chu Kuangren led Lan Yu and Murong Xian to leave. Wait. At that moment, the emperor of the Qilin clan, Dark North Xuanza, called out to Chu Kuangren. He said, you can leave if you want, but you have to leave the Qilin clan /s Empyrean Neptune halberd behind. That /s the weapon of our emperor. The Empyrean Neptune halberd is my spoils of war. Although it /s useless to me now, I don't /t want to hand it over so easily. Oh, does that mean there is going to be a battle between you and me? Dark North Xuanzi took a step forward and unleashed his emperor /s aura, which swept towards Chu Kuangren like a raging wave. Think carefully. Are you sure you want to fight me? Chu Kuangren said. I heard that you /v killed 5 new emperors the moment you became an emperor. I /d like to see how strong you /v become, and if you /re on par with us old emperors. Without another word, Dark North Xuanzi unleashed a punch. Mysterious Taoist patterns flowed between his fingers, and the emperor /chi unleashed a tsunami-like force as if it wanted to crush everything in its path. Chu Kuangren did not retreat. Instead, he unleashed a punch at his opponent. When the two fists collided and the Taoist patterns collided, the huge force caused the void to tremble, and Dark North Xuanzi was blasted back dozens of feet. Meanwhile, Chu Kuangren stood still on the spot. This guy /s strength is so strong. Dark North Xuanzi /s expression changed as he looked at Chu Kuangren in fear. Then he took out a long white staff with mysterious Taoist patterns flowing on it, causing his aura to rise again. With the emperor weapon in hand, Dark North Xuanzi attacked Chu Kuangren again. The majestic emperor /s aura surged out wave after wave. You shall be defeated. Merak strike. Dark North Sea Realm raised the staff in his hand high and smashed it down towards Chu Kuangren. A huge force blasted through the void and countless Taoist patterns spread out, wrapping around a huge torrential force and forming a giant whirlpool. Heaven's Vortex. Chu Kuangren activated his invincible technique and Taoist patterns intertwined on his palm to form a vortex. When the two vortexes collided, the power of Dark North Sea Realm's attack was quickly absorbed and disintegrated by Chu Kuangren's vortex. What? Just as Dark North Sea Realm was still in shock, a huge wave of energy suddenly rebounded from the vortex that Chu Kuangren had conjured. That was his power of water. With a bang, the staff in Dark North Xian's hand was blasted back once more. Profound, you've actually grasped the profound. Baiming Xianse exclaimed. Not only him but the others also felt that it was inconceivable. I didn't expect a new emperor to be able to grasp the profoundness. It is indeed unimaginable. Furthermore, judging from this profound aura, it is most likely not an ordinary one. Baiming Xianse's strength isn't weak. He's in the 4th stage of the Emperor Realm and is a late Emperor Realm expert. Yet this new emperor was able to force him to retreat twice. To be able to unleash such strength, it's very likely to be a high-rank profound art. Profound mysteries were rare to begin with, not to mention a high-rank profound art. It's impolite not to reciprocate. Now it's my turn. The descendant self-sword at Chu Kuangren's waist suddenly shot out. Mysterious Taoist patterns flowed along the white jade-like blade, and a terrifying sword Tao aura erupted, forcing the surrounding emperors to retreat like a tidal wave. After the descendant self-sword circled around Chu Kuangren twice, it landed in his hand. With a gentle slash, a surge of invincible power erupted. Boom! A dazzling purple sword ray immediately tore through the void. The terrifying sword pressure locked onto Dark North Xianse. Not good. Dark North Xian immediately pushed his strength to the limit and struck out with his staff at the sword ray. Under the collision of the Taoist patterns, the sword ray bounced off the staff like a hot knife through butter. Meanwhile, Dark North Xianse was struck by the sword ray, and pieces of scales appeared on his body like a close-fitting armor. Even so, the powerful force still caused Dark North Sea Realm to spit out a mouthful of blood. He was sent flying by the sword ray and crashed into the ceiling of the ice palace, causing the entire palace to shake violently. A huge hole appeared in the ceiling, and Dark North Sea Realm was sent flying. However, Chu Kuangren had no intention of stopping there. He took a step forward and arrived outside the palace. With the sword in hand, he unleashed another slash. This time the sword ray was far stronger than before. There was a horrifying scene of the sun and moon turning upside down and the stars falling from the sky. Dark North Sea Realm felt a sense of panic in the face of this attack. I can't take this attack. I might die. Fine beads of cold sweat instantly formed on Dark North Sea Realm's forehead. Just when he was about to be hit by the sword ray, a stream of light swept past him and crashed into the sword ray like a meteor. When the two forces collided, it was as if two stars had collided. Cracks spread across the space, covering thousands of kilometers. The entire Snowdragon Mountain looked like it was about to collapse. The huge impact sent Dark North Sea Realm flying a few hundred meters away. He looked at the white-robed middle-aged man in front of him and breathed a sigh of relief. Meanwhile, Chu Kuangren held the Descendant Self-Sword in his hand and looked at the Starform Emperor before him. What? Do you want to attack the new Emperor too? The Starform Emperor was a 9th-level Emperor Origin Realm cultivator. A top-notch full-circle Emperor. In terms of cultivation realm, Chu Kuangren had only just stepped into the Emperor realm. There was a world of difference between him and his opponent. However, even in the face of the Starform Emperor, whose cultivation realm was far higher than his, Chu Kuangren was still as calm as ever. When the other emperors saw this, they could not help but wonder. They did not know if Chu Kuangren was just putting on an act or if he had a card up his sleeve. The Starform Emperor could not see through Chu Kuangren either, and he did not want to start a conflict with the new emperor now. However, since he was the leader of these emperors, he could not just sit back and watch Chu Kuangren kill Dark North Sea Realm in front of him. Brother Chu, where it is possible to forgive and forget, one should forgive and forget. Brother Dark North has indeed done something wrong, but if you want to kill him because of this, isn't that a bit too much? Why don't you just let this matter go? The Starform Emperor said. That's easy for you to say. He was the one who wanted to attack me and I've asked him to reconsider. He was the one who insisted, so how can I be blamed? It's not that easy to let this matter rest. Then what do you want to do, Brother Chu? You should at least give me some compensation. Chu Kuangren said. It was not a wise move to start a conflict with the Starform Emperor, but it was impossible for him to just let this matter rest. Impossible. Dark North Sea Realm's expression darkened. Loser, you have no right to object. Chu Kuangren glanced at him. Then he looked at the Starform Emperor. He could tell that the emperors here were obviously led by this person. This is an Emperor-grade soul source. Is it enough? The Starform Emperor took out a golden crystal that contained extremely pure spiritual qi. It even had its own Emperor's qi. Chu Kuangren took the Emperor's soul source, played with it for a while and then nodded. This Emperor's soul source was enough for his cultivation to improve further. It was not impossible for him to step into the second stage Emperor realm. I don't care how you want to divide the territory, but if anyone dares to touch the Black Heaven sect's territory, don't blame me for being merciless. Chu Kuangren glanced at the crowd and said coldly. After that, he left with Lan Yu and the others. Looking at Chu Kuangren's departing figure, the Starform Emperor's gaze was a little complicated. Is this the person that the Heavenly Honorables wanted me to pay attention to? He does have some character, but he's still a new emperor. He's still young and full of vigor. Chapter 660. A mere new emperor dares to be so arrogant. If he's too arrogant. This time, it's not his turn to guard the deity seal anyway. The Black Heaven sect is just a small piece of land, so we'll just let him have it. That's right. Let's continue to plan out the perimeter. The emperors were rather displeased with Chu Kuangren's behavior. Then they ignored him. Leng Ningyu and Zi Wuji did not leave with Chu Kuangren immediately. Instead, they discussed with the others. Zi Wuji sensed that this was an opportunity, so he followed the emperors and marked out a piece of land on Firmament Star as his residence. Ningyu, why don't you go and look after the Celestial Forest mountain range? The spiritual qi there is abundant, and it's a treasure land. Based on the Heavenly Tao's recovery, there'll be treasures appearing in less than 10 years. Leng Xian said to Leng Ningyu. Both of them were from the Seven Emotions sect. Although it was a long time ago, Leng Xian was still willing to take care of them for the sake of their friendship. Hence, she picked out a treasure land for her. Thank you, Brother Leng Xian, but I'm not sure if I want to stay on Firmament Star yet. Leng Ningyu smiled. I see. It's not a bad idea if you want to return to the Emperor's path. However, you must remember that becoming an Emperor doesn't mean you can do whatever you want. Emperors must not interfere in the affairs of those below the Emperor realm. Leng Xian said solemnly. Firmament Star was currently in a special period. The emperors who were fighting in the extraterrestrial battlefields had not been replenished for hundreds of thousands of years, so they needed new emperors to replenish their combat strength. The emperors must not interfere in the affairs of those below the Emperor realm to prevent the emperors from doing whatever they wanted with their strength. That was the agreement between the emperors. I understand, Leng Ningyu said. The emperors discussed for 3 days and 3 nights before they finally decided on the place to look after. Then they went their separate ways. Leng Ningyu returned to the Black Heaven sect as well. She briefly told everyone about what happened after Chu Kuangren left. The emperors divided the Firmament Star into 300 prefectures, and each prefecture is guarded by an emperor. Among them, the Black Heaven sect is located in the Black Heaven Prefecture, which Chu Kuangren will be in charge of. However, the Black Heaven Prefecture is the smallest. It's only 100,000 kilometers wide with the Black Heaven sect at its center. After listening to Leng Ningyu, everyone fell into deep thought. It could be said that the emergence of the emperors had completely overturned the current power structure of the firmament star. From now on, the sage orthodoxies would become a thing of the past, and the emperors would be the true rulers of the firmament star. In fact, those orthodoxies were unable to resist at all. They were too weak before an emperor, and it was to the point that an emperor could crush them as easily as crushing a few ants. They could only listen and let it be. This is too much. A radius of 100,000 miles? How much territory do the other emperors control? Murong Xian asked with a frown. Other than the Xintian Dao Prefecture, the smallest Dao Prefecture is 3 million miles wide, said Leng Ningyu indifferently. Even the smallest prefecture was dozens of times bigger than the Xintian Dao Prefecture. It was obvious that these emperors were taking revenge on Chu Kuangren for his rudeness. This is interesting. Has the entire firmament star been divided? Chu Kuangren chuckled and asked. There are also some places that are either barren of spiritual energy or inauspicious and sensitive. No one wants them, so they are abandoned. All right, I understand. Chu Kuangren nodded and said, let's not bother with the emperors for now. Let's take care of the Black Heaven sect first. He had once said that he did not care how the emperors divided their territories, as long as they did not target the Black Heaven sect. Compared to the emperors dividing their territories, Chu Kuangren was more concerned about the extraterrestrial battlefield and the great calamity that had lasted until now. He planned to stay in Firmament Star for a while before heading to the extraterrestrial battlefield to hone his skills and take a look at the so-called Blood Tribe. His path of cultivation had not reached its end yet. The emperors were not the end, but a new starting point for him. As time passed, the 300 Taoist prefectures that were divided by the emperors gradually entered the public's view. Every cultivator knew that times had changed. In the past, the emperors were nowhere to be seen, but now the emperors were dominating the firmament star. Many people did not have the time to react. At the same time, besides the emperors, the orthodoxies from the 9 heavens had also sent many cultivators to the firmament star. With the emperor's permission, they set up branches of their orthodoxies on firmament star. Now that the heavenly Tao had been revived, they had their eyes on firmament star as well. Emperors, ancient orthodoxies. These existences that had long turned into ancient legends in firmament star appeared one by one, causing the cultivators of firmament star to fall into a state of shock. However, the tide of time would not stop because of anyone. As the wheel of history rolled forward, some cultivators who could not keep up with the changes of the times were abandoned and turned into cannon fodder. At the same time, many people took advantage of the situation to rise and shine. It had been more than a year since Chu Kuangren and the others became emperors, and in this year the changes on firmament star were unprecedented. The heavenly Tao had been revived, the spiritual qi had become more abundant, and the great Tao had manifested, making cultivation easier for the cultivators. Chu Kuangren even heard that there were several old emperors who ascended the Emperor's Mountain from the Emperor's Path and became emperors there. However, Chu Kuangren did not pay much attention to these things. He was also cultivating now. After a year of cultivation, although he did not make much progress in his cultivation realm, he only managed to ascend to the second stage Emperor realm after refining an Emperor-grade spiritual source. This showed how difficult it was to progress in the Emperor realm. It was not surprising that some emperors did not make much progress even after hundreds of thousands of years. On this day, in the Black Heaven sect, suddenly, a fiery light shot into the sky. Then, a majestic emperor's aura swept out and spread across the entire firmament star. In the towering heaven palace, Chu Kuangren opened his eyes. He looked at the sky in surprise and murmured, "This energy, it's Lil Red. Lil Red is about to ascend." His eyes lit up and he walked out of the Taoist palace. The clouds in the sky were dyed red by a brilliant red light, and in the middle of the red clouds, a huge ball of fire was burning. A domineering emperor's aura spread out from it. Within the flames, a figure could be vaguely seen. It was the godly phoenix. The Black Heaven sect's disciples were startled by the godly phoenix. One by one they rushed out to watch the godly phoenix ascend. Gradually, the emperor's aura became stronger, so much so that even some of the emperors in the outer domain could feel it. This is the ultimate Tao. There's a living being that has attained the ultimate Tao. This energy, is it a divine beast? Is it a godly phoenix nurtured by the heavens and earth? No wonder it can attain the ultimate Tao. The godly phoenix and true dragon are auspicious beasts that are favored by the heavens and earth. They are not inferior to some of the ancient innate gods, so it's not unimaginable that it can attain the ultimate Tao. These living beings that are blessed by the heavens and earth have an advantage over humans in terms of Tao. The emperors could not help but exclaim. Meanwhile, in the Black Heaven sect, the godly phoenix's ascension to the emperor realm was celebrated by the heavens and earth. Tens of thousands of auspicious lights shone down and illuminated the entire Black Heaven sect. Many disciples were more or less enlightened by the auspicious lights. Meanwhile, the godly phoenix in the sky absorbed the spiritual chi from hundreds of thousands of kilometers around it. With the heavenly Tao's blessing, it began to condense Emperor's aura. Chapter 661. With the heavenly Tao's blessing and the influx of endless spiritual chi, the godly phoenix began to condense Emperor essence. Its speed was no slower than Chu Kuangren refining the chaotic chi in the coffin. In the end, the godly phoenix condensed a supreme-tier Emperor essence. Supreme-tier Emperor essence, the ultimate Tao. Compared to Chu Kuangren's ultimate Emperor essence, the perfect Tao was not inferior at all. A divine beast was indeed a divine beast. As the godly phoenix became an emperor, a large amount of spiritual chi boiled within the Black Heaven sect's boundary like a mist that shrouded tens of thousands of kilometers. Amidst the mist, treasures were forming one after another. There were countless supreme-tier spiritual sources, spiritual marrows, treasure ores and more. F***ck the godly phoenix's Taoist ascension is indeed extraordinary. So many treasures have been born in such a short time. TSK, this is too extraordinary. Quick, send someone to collect them. All hail the godly phoenix. The godly phoenix was an auspicious beast that was blessed with great fortune. The land where the godly phoenix resided was affected by the godly phoenix's chi, and it was a place of great prosperity. The godly phoenix's Taoist ascension was celebrated by the heavens and earth, and many treasures were born between heaven and earth. Chu Kuangren could not help but marvel at everything that was happening. He knew. Such a phenomenon occurred not only because of the godly phoenix's Taoist ascension, but also because of the heavenly Tao's revival. If the heavenly Tao's power was insufficient, such a phenomenon would not occur even if the godly phoenix ascended 10 times. That's all of a sudden Chu Kuangren sensed a powerful burst of energy within the Black Heaven sect's territory. It was the aura of some kind of treasure. Chu Kuangren's figure flashed and arrived at the top of a mountain. There was a giant parasol tree on the top of the mountain. On the tree, there was a fist-sized fiery red fruit that looked like a crystal-clear gemstone. Bursts of fruity fragrance filled the air, making one salivate. Parasol fruit? This is one of the 10 great spirit fruits, the divine parasol fruit. Chu Kuangren could not help but be surprised. The 10 great spirit fruits were the most talked about spirit fruits in firmament stars since ancient times. Each of them was created by the heavens and earth and had endless uses. Chu Kuangren had once obtained the divine white spirit fruit. Now the second one was in front of him, the divine parasol fruit. I didn't expect this spirit fruit to be born after the divine phoenix proved its Tao. However, it looks like it will still take some time before it ripens. Fine, let me give you a hand. Chu Kuangren took out pieces of spiritual sources and placed them in a specific position. Then, surges of spiritual chi surged towards him from all directions and surged towards the divine parasol fruit. This was a spirit-gathering formation. It could quickly gather the surrounding spiritual energy. With the support of this array formation, the divine parasol fruit ripened much faster, and a strange spiritual fruit fluctuation spread out. Initially, the commotion caused by the godly phoenix's Tao verification had already attracted the attention of the emperors on the firmament star. Now, the appearance of the divine parasol fruit made some of the emperors even more envious. The new emperor's luck is too good. Not only did the divine phoenix recognize him as its master, but there are also various treasures that have appeared in the land. The land where the divine phoenix is located is filled with outstanding people. It is indeed not a joke. This Wudong divine fruit is one of the 10 great spirit fruits. It is specially used to raise one's cultivation. This divine fruit is worth more than 100 emperor-grade spirit sources. It is enough to raise a small perfection emperor to great perfection emperor. It would be great if a treasure like this appeared in my land. He's just a new emperor. How can he possess such a treasure? Some of the emperors looked at the divine parasol fruit and could no longer hold themselves back. If this divine parasol fruit grew in the land of other emperors, they might be envious, but they would not do anything unnecessary. However, Chu Kuangren was just a new emperor, a young guy who had just ascended to emperor a few years ago. He did not have any prestige among the emperors. No, this divine parasol fruit is of great use to me. I can't let it go just like that. One of the emperors gritted his teeth, turned into a stream of light, and disappeared on the spot, arriving at the Black Heaven sect's land. At the mountain peak where the divine parasol fruit was. Chu Kuangren sensed the arrival of an emperor, and a hint of surprise flashed across his eyes. He then looked at the person who had arrived. It was a white-robed emperor with a fan in his hand. He had an elegant demeanor like a scholar. However, when the other party looked at the divine parasol fruit, the greed in his eyes did not escape Chu Kuangren's eyes. I knew that some people wouldn't be able to sit still when the divine parasol fruit has appeared. Well, it's time to use a few people to establish my dominance. Chu Kuangren murmured. He knew that he was a new emperor, and he had almost no prestige among the emperors. Hence, people often came to provoke him. Jian Feng, dark north black color, and this person in front of him, it was easy to change this situation. All he had to do was show enough strength. Brother Chu, I have an emperor-grade spiritual source here. I'd like to use it to exchange for this divine parasol fruit. What do you think? The scholarly emperor took out an emperor-grade spiritual source and smiled. Are you out of your mind? Chu Kuangren glanced at him and said bluntly. No matter how ignorant he was, he knew that the divine parasol fruit was not something an emperor-grade spiritual source could compare to. Brother Chu, if you don't want to exchange, then don't. Why do you have to be so rude and hurt our friendship? The scholarly emperor said with a gloomy expression. I find this funny. You're using an emperor-grade spiritual source to exchange for this divine parasol fruit. That's no different from robbery, and you still have the nerve to talk about friendship with me? Chu Kuangren sneered. You, haha brother Chu, you're right. This guy's skin is really thick. At that moment, a coarse laughter was heard. A muscular emperor walked over. The person's aura was surging and wild like a wild beast. Through the eye of revelation, Chu Kuangren had learned that the emperor in front of him was a wild beast, and his true form was the adamantine bear. Xiong Kuang, what's the meaning of this? The scholarly emperor's expression darkened. What's the meaning of this? Isn't it obvious enough? Emperor Xiong Kuang pouted. Then he took out a golden armor and said, Brother Chu, this is an emperor weapon. I'll use it to exchange for this divine parasol fruit. What do you think? The Taoist patterns on that armor circulated. It was a defensive emperor weapon. Emperor Xiong Kuang's true form was the adamantine bear, and this type of wild beast was best at defense. There was no need for this emperor weapon at all. That was why he took it out to exchange with Chu Kuangren. However, Chu Kuangren only glanced at it once before he looked away. He had the immortal body, so a defensive emperor weapon was not that useful to him. Besides, this emperor weapon could not be used to exchange for the divine parasol fruit. I'm not exchanging. Brother Chu, I'm a straightforward person, so I'll just say it directly. Today you'll have to exchange for this divine parasol fruit no matter what. Emperor Xiong Kuang grinned. Then why waste your breath? Come at me. The descendant's self-sword at Chu Kuangren's waist shot out and landed in his hand. He raised his arm and slashed, tearing a crack in the void. He then lifted his foot and walked into the void. The scholarly emperor and Emperor Xiong Kuang followed closely behind him. Surges of emperor's thoughts surged from all directions into the void, observing the battle between the new emperor and the veteran emperors. Chu Kuangren had already displayed his full strength back at the Snowdragon Mountain. However, he did not go all out that time. The emperors wanted to see what the new emperor's limit was. Chapter 662. In the Void. Chu Kuangren was facing off against two veteran emperors alone. Both of them were very strong, being great emperors. On the other hand, Chu Kuangren was only a lesser emperor at the second-layer emperor realm. His chances of winning against the two of them were slim. Brother Chu, we're not the same as that guy from the Qilin clan. He's only at the fourth-layer emperor realm while we're at the sixth layer. The difference between two layers is not something you can imagine. Emperor Wild Bear let out a low growl, and an overbearing emperor's aura suddenly erupted from his body as surges of emperor's chi circulated around his body. He took the lead and punched out. The wind generated by his punch shattered a spatial turbulence in the void and swept out with a wild aura. Chu Kuangren raised his hand and unleashed a sword attack. The sword chi shattered the fist wind with a bang. Then he unleashed his technique of invincibility and unleashed a terrifying sword attack that caused the sun and moon to reverse. Emperor Wild Bear let out a low growl as surges of emperor's chi intertwined on his body. Taoist patterns circulated and formed a giant golden bear silhouette. Roar. It was followed by a roar. The giant golden bear silhouette slammed its palm onto the sword ray. Amidst the explosion, the giant golden bear was pushed back a few kilometers, and the sword ray that Chu Kuangren unleashed was also shattered into sword chi. Chu Kuangren's eyes lit up. Oh, to be able to block my technique of invincibility. Interesting. You're indeed stronger than that emperor from the Qilin clan, but I wonder how much stronger you guys are compared to him. He raised his hand again and unleashed several more sword rays. The terrifying energy caused Emperor Wild Bear's expression to change slightly. This guy really does have combat strength that far surpasses his peers in the same realm. The giant golden bear silhouette behind him let out a series of angry roars as it continuously attacked with its claws. Every attack set off a violent airflow. Bang, bang, bang. A few consecutive explosions were heard as the giant claws and sword rays collided. Emperor Wild Bear's figure was constantly pushed back. However, Chu Kuangren's sword rays did not stop at all. F***CKUB****, why are you still watching? What are you waiting for? Great Emperor Xiong Kuang roared at the scholarly emperor. Let's see if you still dare to speak so rudely. The refined emperor grunted lightly, and then he attacked as well. He knew that he might not be able to snatch the divine parasol fruit by himself. Hence, he could only team up with Great Emperor Xiong Kuang. Majestic Emperor Qi and Dao runes erupted from his body, intertwining in the void and forming a huge green shadow. It was an illusory figure shrouded in a storm. Its face could not be seen clearly, and it was surrounded by an incomparably powerful storm force. Heavenly Wind Dharma Idol. The scholarly emperor let out a soft cry, and the shadow that was shrouded in the storm behind him slowly raised its hand and attacked Chu Kuangren. Oh, the power of transcendence? Try mine. 10,000 Daos. Chu Kuangren said indifferently. The power of the Taoist bodies in his body exploded at the same time. A multicolored Dharma idol appeared, and then a surge of Dharma energy that shocked even the two veteran emperors instantly erupted. The Heavenly Wind Dharma idol was knocked back by this power. How is this possible? This is the power of the Taoist body? Why did this Dharma power contain so many different Dharma power auras? Crimson Sun Taoist Physique, Frost Taoist Physique, Exquisite Nine Orifices Sword Heart, Holy Radiant Physique. There's even a Chaos Physique. Both Great Emperor Xiong Kuang and the refined emperor widened their eyes. It was not that they had never seen the power of the Taoist body before. However, they had never seen or even heard of the power of so many Taoist bodies concentrated in one Dharma idol before. The other emperors who were watching the battle were also stunned. So many Taoist body physique powers concentrated in one person. This kind of thing was simply a fantasy story. Oh, how did he do it? Unbelievable, this is simply unbelievable. Oh my God, is this guy really human? This has never happened before. Even the Starfall Emperor could not help but gulp. No wonder the Heavenly Honorables told me to pay more attention to him. I can't believe something like this actually happened. This is just too unbelievable. How did he do it? Emperors were not omnipotent. Even emperors would be shocked. Now, Chu Kuangren had shocked the emperors like never before. Zi Wuji was also watching the battle. He could not help but let out a soft sigh. Before he became an emperor, he was already a legend among the younger generation. Even after becoming an emperor, he can still create miracles. How can such a person exist in this world? He might not be able to catch up to Chu Kuangren in this lifetime. In the void, Chu Kuangren unleashed his 10,000 Dharma idols. Compared to a year ago, his 10,000 Dharma idols now had a few more Taoist body powers. They were Murong Xian's Crimson Sun Taoist Physique, Nangong Huang's Yin Yang Godai, and Shang Qingshua's Frost Taoist Physique. He even took the time to go to the Emperor's Road to gain insights on the Mystic Sword Guard's Fallen Darkness Taoist Physique. The power of the 10,000 Dharma idols was on another level compared to before. Come, let's see how many of my Dharma idols' attacks you guys can withstand. Chu Kuangren said. The Dharma idol behind him moved and unleashed a punch. The power of the many Taoist physiques mixed together and formed an indescribable Taoist strength. That power was too terrifying. The moment Scholarly Emperor's Heavenly Tempest avatar collided with the Dharma idol, it was shattered by the Dharma idol's power. Emperor Xiong Kuang gulped, extremely shocked. Too powerful. Too terrifying. A second-stage emperor could completely suppress two sixth-stage realm cultivators like them. No, it could be said that they were completely crushed. This kind of battle prowess to challenge someone of a higher level was too shocking. Vajra strength. Emperor Xiongquang stepped forward and let out an angry roar. His roar was like thunder and the sound waves spread out wildly. Then, the giant golden bear shadow charged towards Chu Kuangren's 10,000 Dharma idols, its two giant palms containing the terrifying Vajra strength. That attack seemed to be able to shatter the stars in the sky. However, Chu Kuangren's 10,000 Dharma idols did not retreat even a single step. Boom. A punch was unleashed. The void turbulence shattered. The fist wind swept across, and the various Taoist physique powers mixed together. Before it even landed on the giant bear shadow, it had already shattered the two giant palms. Then that punch forcefully annihilated the giant bear shadow. The remaining power swept across, sending the two veteran emperors flying. Chu Kuangren's powerful combat strength shocked the onlooking emperors. Emperor Xiongquang and scholarly emperor's eyes were filled with fear. They looked at Chu Kuangren with goosebumps all over their bodies. How can there be an emperor like that? How can this guy's combat strength be so strong? Both emperors' bodies were trembling. Meanwhile, Chu Kuangren took a step forward, and a surge of emperor's aura emanated from his body. The 10,000 Dharma idols behind him followed suit. He raised his hand and suppressed. The giant Dharma idol's hands locked onto scholarly emperor. No. Scholarly emperor unleashed an attack with all his might. One after another, Taoist patterns wrapped in a storm and landed on the 10,000 Dharma idol's giant hands. However, the 10,000 Dharma idol's power was too strong. Scholarly emperor's attack did not have any effect at all, and the moment it came into contact, the Taoist patterns on it shattered. With a loud bang, scholarly emperor's body was blasted apart. Chapter 663. Although you're in the 6th level Emperor realm, you only have ordinary Daos and Emperor essences. You haven't even understood the mysteries, so your combat strength is only SOSO. Now it's your turn. Chu Kuangren looked at Emperor Kuang Bear. This emperor from the wild beast clan gulped, his eyes filled with fear. He no longer had the slightest intention to fight. He opened up the void and escaped. Chu Kuangren curled his lips at that. Where can I run to? He returned to the real world in a flash. Run. That was Emperor Kuang Bear's only thought. He really couldn't figure out how a new emperor in the 2nd stage of the emperor realm could have such a terrifying battle strength. A 6th level emperor like him was powerless before his opponent. Where do you think you're going? While Emperor Kuang Bear was escaping, a silvery voice suddenly rang out. Then, a tremor that came from the depths of his bloodline caused his pupils to shrink. In front of him was a young lady in a red dress. The young lady had waist-length black hair, a slim figure, red lips and white teeth. There was a hint of nobility in between her brows, as if she was a noble lady. You're the godly phoenix. The godly phoenix that just ascended to the emperor realm. Emperor Kuang Bear's expression changed. Not daring to be careless, he hurriedly channeled all his strength and punched the godly phoenix. Allow me to introduce myself. I'm Chu Hong from the Black Heaven sect. The godly phoenix Chu Hong said. Then, she gently raised her hand and pressed her slender arm against Emperor Kuang Bear's sandbag-sized fist. A gust of wind blew, sending shockwaves everywhere. Chu Hong's crimson dress fluttered in the wind, but she did not move an inch. A cold glint flashed in her golden eyes. Little bear, how dare you cause trouble in the Black Heaven sect? With a light snort, Chu Hong's jade-white palm suddenly emitted a large amount of golden flames, covering the entire arm of the wild bear emperor. The Taoist patterns in the flames intertwined with the emperor's chi, and in an instant, Emperor Kuang Bear's arm was burnt to a crisp. A blood-curdling scream rang out. Seeing that the flames were still moving towards the other parts of his body, Great Emperor Xiongquang decisively revolved his monarch chi and forcefully blew off his arm. He retreated and looked at Chu Hong in fear. Chu Hong threw the charred arm to the side and curled her lips. 6th heaven of the Emperor Chu. This is too weak. When Great Emperor Xiongquang heard her words, he didn't know how to refute. Indeed, Chu Hong had just stepped into the Emperor realm, but she could easily crush him, a 6th-stage Emperor realm emperor. Looking at it this way, his 6th stage of the Emperor origin realm was really too weak. But could he be blamed for this? It could only be said that the divine phoenix was too blessed by the heavens. The moment he stepped into the Emperor realm, he was already at the peak of the Emperor realm. His peak-grade Emperor origin energy, in addition to the phoenix fire that was said to be able to incinerate all living things in the world, his combat strength was too strong. Chu Kuangren is already so powerful. Now that he has this godly phoenix, I was too reckless. Great Emperor Bear Kwong was extremely vexed. If he knew this was going to happen, he would not have dared to come. Godly Phoenix, since we're both beasts, please let me go. I'll repay you handsomely in the future, Great Emperor Bear Kwong said. Only death awaits those who dare to invade my Black Heaven sect. Chu Hong was merciless. She raised her hand and activated the Phoenix Fire again. The Taoist patterns that were formed from the ultimate Taoist path emitted a terrifying fluctuation. If that's the case, then let's perish together. Great Emperor Bear Kwong roared. Then he transformed into his true form. A giant golden bear the size of a hill, its fur emanating a metallic luster that gave it a sense of indestructibility. The Phoenix Fire landed on it and charred its fur black, but it could not really burn its skin. The Adamantine Bear clan has a strong physical body, and this fur is comparable to an emperor weapon. Your Phoenix Fire may be terrifying and I can't even defend myself in my human form. But now that I've transformed into my true form, it won't be easy for you to burn me again. Great Emperor Bear Kwong roared. Even though he only had one arm left, he still charged towards Chu Hong with a terrifying aura. With a swipe of his claw, cracks appeared in the void. Just when Chu Hong was about to retaliate, a sword ray suddenly flashed past and sent Great Emperor Bear Kwong flying. Then, a giant colorful hand descended from the sky and grabbed the mountain-like Great Emperor Bear Kwong in mid-air, rendering him immobile. It was Chu Kwangren's Thousand Taoist avatar. Let go, let go. Great Emperor Bear Kwong roared. Unfortunately, even if he transformed into his true form, he could not fight back against Chu Kwangren's Thousand Taoist avatar, which was a combination of multiple Taoist physiques. Die. Chu Kwangren said. The Thousand Taoist avatar suddenly exerted its strength, and a series of explosions rang out like frying beans. The Taoist patterns, bones and flesh on Great Emperor Bear Kwangren's body exploded one after another, and he was forcefully crushed into a pile of meat paste. After that, Chu Kwangren simply threw the body into the mountains. In an instant, countless beasts that lived in the Black Heaven sect's territory swarmed up and divided the emperor's body for food. Many of the beasts broke through, and their strength increased greatly. An emperor's body was no different from a peerless treasure to them. Lil Red, congratulations on becoming an emperor. Chu Kwangren looked at Chu Hong and smiled. Brother, you're amazing. This little bear's body is so tough that even my phoenix flames can't easily destroy it. I can't believe your avatar could crush it so easily. Chu Hong exclaimed as she looked at the Thousand Taoist avatar behind Chu Kwangren. Chu Kwangren dispersed the Thousand Taoist avatar and looked at Chu Hong. Suddenly he had an idea. His book of physiques could derive the mysteries of thousands of physiques in the world. Could he derive the godly phoenix physique as well? Just as that thought came to his mind, the book of physiques in the depths of his soul trembled. Then in Chu Kwangren's vision, a fiery red ball of light appeared on Chu Hong's body. It contained countless Taoist patterns. That was the origin of the godly phoenix physique. Understanding this origin would allow one to master the power of the godly phoenix physique. It really works. Chu Kwangren's eyes lit up. He suddenly understood something. The book of physiques was used to derive the thousands of physiques in the world, but it was not limited to the various Taoist physiques. Every race had a different physique, and these were all within the scope of the book of physiques. Except for the human Taoist physiques. The physiques of other races could also be learned. For example, the various ancient beasts. Looks like I'll have more research materials in the future. Chu Kwangren murmured. Then he and Chu Hong waited for the divine parasol fruit to ripen. During that time he also began to study the godly phoenix physique. Chu Hong was very cooperative. Divine beasts were indeed divine beasts. Their physiques alone were not something any Taoist physique could compare to. Even the strongest Taoist physique, the chaotic physique, was slightly inferior to the godly phoenix physique. After the divine parasol fruit ripened, Chu Kwangren spent a full 10 days to understand less than 1/10 of the godly phoenix physique. However, he was not in a hurry. He would continue his research when he returned to the Black Heaven sect. After a few months he finally understood the mysteries of the godly phoenix physique, and he also mastered the ability to control the phoenix flames. Chapter 664. The godly phoenix physique can't be integrated into the Dharma Taoist physique? In the Towering Heaven Palace, Chu Kwangren was in closed-door meditation, planning to integrate the godly phoenix physique's power into the Dharma Taoist physique's power. However, he realized that it was not compatible. The godly phoenix physique was like a high and mighty noble, while the other Taoist physiques were like the poor. This noble completely disdained to be associated with the poor. Is the godly phoenix physique's level too high? My immortal body and universal cauldron physique's power can't be integrated into the Dharma Taoist physiques. It seems like this is the best I can do for now, Chu Kuangren said helplessly. Although he did not integrate the godly phoenix physique's power into the Dharma Taoist physique's power, it was still something to be happy about. This gave him another way to fight against his enemies. The power of the phoenix flame was not to be underestimated. It was the essence of the myriad flames. There were almost no mystical flames in Firmament Star that were of a higher grade than the phoenix flame. Next, it's time to refine this divine parasol fruit. Chu Kuangren took out the divine parasol fruit. It was one of the 10 great spirit fruits that could be used to increase one's cultivation base. For Chu Kuangren at his current stage, it was very useful. Without hesitation, he quickly swallowed it into his stomach. The taste is not as good as the divine white spirit fruit. Chu Kuangren smacked his lips twice. He wondered how the other spirit fruits would taste like. He felt that if he could taste all 10 of the remaining spirit fruits, he would definitely rank them by taste. Boom. Not long after the divine parasol fruit entered his stomach, Chu Kuangren felt a terrifying force explode within his body and instantly engulf his entire body. Like a vast ocean, a majestic and endless spiritual power erupted. Universal Cauldron Physique, activate. The power contained within the divine parasol fruit was quickly absorbed and refined. Chu Kuangren's cultivation base was also rising. While Chu Kuangren was in closed-door cultivation to refine the divine parasol fruit, a strange change occurred in the purgatory forest. Back when the demonic realm invaded the firmament world, Chu Kuangren used the heaven sword to seal the entire demonic realm. Now that the heavenly Tao was awakened and could absorb the power of emperors, the 7 emperors of the demonic realm. Not only that, today, outside the purgatory forest, a mysterious person wearing a black cloak appeared and single-handedly broke through the entire purgatory forest. Such strength. You're an emperor. In the purgatory forest, the leader of the Azura clan looked at the mysterious cloaked man in disbelief. All around them, the Azura clansmen had already fallen to the ground. Broken limbs were everywhere and the smell of blood was horrifying. Die. The cloaked man casually raised his hand and punched out. With a loud boom, the void instantly exploded. The Azura clan leader's strength was completely unable to withstand it, and he was blasted into a bloody mist on the spot. The Azura tribe was annihilated. The mysterious cloaked person looked into the void. She could keenly sense that there was an extremely powerful formation hidden in the void. In the past, the Acheron Heavenly Emperor was only able to suppress the entrance to the demonic realm when he was only a great emperor. I can't believe that Chu Kuangren is able to do something that only a great emperor can do without even reaching the great emperor's cultivation level. He's indeed a monster. The cloaked man said calmly. Following that, she tore open a pitch-black rift in the air and walked into it, arriving in the boundless void. In this void, countless swords were hovering in the air, emanating an endless amount of terrifying sword chi. It was an extremely majestic sight. In the center of the countless swords there was a black dot. That was the entrance to the demonic realm. However, at this moment, it was suppressed by this endless amount of sword chi. This sword formation is extraordinary. It's hard to imagine that it was created by someone below the level of an emperor. The cloaked person looked at the sword formation in front of her with an emotional expression. Following that, she took a deep breath. The emperor's chi within her surged, and mysterious Taoist patterns began to circulate, turning into a chilling cold chi that gushed out towards the sword formation. With a loud explosion, the sword formation was corroded by the cold chi. One by one, the swords on the periphery fell, and the sword formation strength was instantly reduced. Seeing that, the cloaked person continued to attack. The cold chi continued to erupt, attacking the sword formation in a frenzy. Although the sealing sword formation was powerful, it could not last long under the continuous attacks of an emperor. One by one, the swords were frozen and fell to the ground. The sword formation strength was rapidly weakening. Wing. At the center of the sword formation, the black dot seemed to have sensed something. It quickly swelled and turned into a black whirlpool. Waves of terrifying spatial fluctuations spread out from it, and together with the cold air, they attacked the sword formation from both inside and outside. Freezing sky technique, snow dragon palm. The cloaked person hollered. She pushed with her bare hands and terrifying cold chi surged forth once more. Numerous mysterious Taoist patterns intersected, turning into a white dragon that smashed onto the sword formation with even more intense cold chi. With a loud explosion, the surrounding void turbulence was shattered. The sealing sword formation had been broken. Within the Hell Demon world, the 7 demon emperors opened their eyes at the same time. The sword formation has been broken. Haha, that damn sword formation is gone. Gather the army and follow me to conquer the human world. I can sense that the heavenly Tao there has awakened and it can contain emperor-level power. I want to personally descend there and rip that kid who sealed the entrance into pieces. Human world, we are coming. The 7 demon emperors all moved. Within Purgatory Forest, a beautiful figure wearing a mask arrived. She looked at the Azura clan's corpses that littered the ground. Her eyes were hollow as her body trembled and tears streamed down her face. Who did it? Ah. This person was Zhan Hongying, who had just returned from the Emperor's Road. She had failed in the contest for the throne and stayed there for a period of time. She had only returned to the Azura clan today. Who would have thought that the moment she returned, her entire clan was gone? Family, friends, teachers, the old, the weak, the women and the children were all gone. Zhan Hongying's eyes turned red and blood-colored flowers bloomed on her body, making her look demonic. At that moment, a black whirlpool suddenly appeared high up in the sky. A terrifying spatial fluctuation appeared. That's the entrance to the demon world. Zhan Hongying's expression changed. The sword formation has been broken. Someone opened the entrance to the demon world. This must be the culprit's doing. A cloaked figure charged out of the whirlpool. It's him. Zhan Hongying's eyes were filled with extreme hatred. But just as she was about to give chase, the demon wolf charged out from the black mist behind her and pressed her to the ground, whimpering. Pippi, what are you doing? I want revenge. Woo! No matter how hard Zhan Hongying struggled, the demon wolf Pippi refused to release its claws and pressed her to the ground. Don't go. Don't go. Pippi's beast instincts told it that the cloaked person was extremely dangerous and that Zhan Hongying was no match for him. Going up there would only mean death. In order to protect its impulsive master, it could only do so. Oh, there are still survivors of the Azura clan? The mysterious cloaked person also noticed Zhan Hongying and Pippi. She was surprised that the Azura clan was still alive. Just as she was about to finish off the enemy, a powerful shockwave erupted from the demon world's entrance behind her. The demon world's army is about to arrive. We shouldn't stay here any longer. Let's leave the survivors to the demon race. The mysterious cloaked person murmured. Then she turned into a streak of light and disappeared. Many people also sensed the reappearance of the demon world's entrance. Chapter 665. What's going on? Is this demonic chi the entrance to the demonic realm? ***, what's going on? Why would the entrance to the demonic realm suddenly appear? Wasn't it sealed by Chu Kuangren back then? Is there anyone nearby? Let's go check it out. There are no emperors guarding that area. The emperors were alerted. Their emperor's thoughts swept across the Purgatory Forest. The Purgatory Forest, as the sealed entrance to the demonic realm, was a sensitive location. It had been eroded by demonic chi before, so the spiritual chi there was not abundant. Coupled with the demonic realm's seal, it was separated from the 300 Taoist continents. In other words, there were no emperors guarding that area. Therefore, when the demonic realm broke the seal, no emperors came immediately. Most of the emperors were still observing the situation. For example, how many people from the demonic realm and how many emperors were there? Don't act rashly. Let's stop the demonic chi from spreading first. As for the demonic realm's emperors, let's see how strong they are first. Not bad. There seems to be a survivor of the Ashura clan. Should we save her? She's just a boundary emperor. Let her fend for herself. Black Heaven Sect, inside the towering Heaven Palace. Chu Kuangren suddenly opened his eyes, and a terrifying glint flashed across them. The Purgatory Forest sealing sword formation has been broken. He stored the divine parasol fruit's energy that he had yet to completely refine with his heaven and earth furnace body, then disappeared. Inside the Purgatory Forest, the entrance to the demonic realm was filled with terrifying energy fluctuations. Then, figures walked out one after another, including various demonic creatures such as hellhounds, demonic wolves, demonic dragons, and so on. They were led by 7 demonic emperors. Zhan Hongying recognized them. They were the 7 demonic emperors from the previous demonic realm invasion. Their clones had come to Firmament Star before. But now it was their true selves. The 7 demonic emperors descended upon Firmament Star, and their terrifying emperor's aura swept across the void like a tidal wave, shaking the entire firmament. Zhan Hongying could not move under the pressure. They're real emperors. And with such strength, they're no ordinary emperors. Zhan Hongying had experienced the emperor's aura in the Emperor Mountains, but even Zi Wuji, Wang Quan, and the other new emperor's aura combined was no match for any one of the 7 demon emperors. My original body has finally descended upon this world. The heavenly way has recovered. This is a good time. In this way we can use our abilities without fear. Demon Emperor Pride sneered. Beside him, the other demon emperors were all smiles. Then, the muscular Wrath Demon Emperor seemed to have discovered something. He looked at the corpses of the Azura tribe members on the ground and sneered, "Looks like someone helped us break the sword array, which is why the entrance was opened. I wonder who is so kind. We've opened the entrance to the demon world, but there's no sign of anyone. It seems like the person who helped us break the seal has other intentions. It doesn't matter. As long as we can get out, Firmament Star will be our world. As long as they don't threaten us, it's fine." The few demon emperors were discussing. When the monarch's senses in the surroundings swept past the 7 of them, the monarchs couldn't help but click their tongues in wonder. The strength of the 7 monarchs of the devil world was too powerful. Even the weakest among them had a complete imperial emperor cultivation level. In comparison, although Firmament Star had an advantage in terms of the number of monarchs, they were still lacking in top-tier monarchs. The strength of the 7 monarchs of the devil world has reached such a level. Looks like this is going to be a tough battle. Just as the monarchs were discussing how to end this battle, the 7 monarchs of the devil world made a new move. "Open the demonic realm territory," Demon Emperor Pride said calmly. He took out a black iron order with the word Pride engraved on it. The other demon emperors nodded and each took out an iron order. Those iron orders were engraved with the words greed, envy, wrath, lust, gluttony, sloth, and pride. There were a total of 7 of them. The 7 black iron orders engraved with the title of Demon Emperor collided in the air, and an indescribable mysterious wave instantly spread out, forming a terrifying force field within a 10,000-mile radius. Or rather, a territory. This was the demonic realm territory. All the monarchs felt this territory and their expressions changed slightly. They could actually feel a threat from this territory. That's the demonic realm territory. Star Condensation Great Emperor frowned slightly. Legend has it that the 7 monarchs of the devil world can work together to form a territory. Within that territory, creatures that are not from the devil world will be greatly suppressed, unable to unleash their full strength. I'm afraid this is the reason why the 7 monarchs dare to conquer the world. Thinking of this, the monarchs could not help but hesitate. The 7 monarchs were all full-fledged monarchs. Coupled with this demonic realm territory, even the 300 monarchs would not be able to win. This demonic realm territory is too overpowered. Rumor has it that it has something to do with the gods of hell. Let's inform the Celestial Honorable Council and have them come. This matter is no longer something that ordinary monarchs can interfere with. The monarchs kept communicating in the void. These monarchs came to Firmament Star mainly to watch over the gods that were sealed, and to collect some treasures and the like. It was basically impossible for them to risk their lives for this. Otherwise, they would have gone to the extraterrestrial battlefield to fight. Why would they come to Firmament Star to stay and live a comfortable and leisurely life? Inside the Purgatory Forest. After the demonic realm territory was opened, the demonic chi between heaven and earth suddenly became much stronger. Countless demonic creatures roared in excitement. Remnants of the Ashura tribe. The Wrath Demon Emperor suddenly noticed Zhan Hongying and Pippi below. He grinned and slowly descended to the ground. The moment his feet touched the ground, the entire ground exploded. Zhan Hongying and Pippi were sent flying by the terrifying demonic aura. How terrifying! Zhan Hongying lay on the ground vomiting blood. Her opponent did not even make a move. Just his aura alone was enough to injure her. She felt like an ant in front of the Wrath Demon Emperor. No, she was even worse than an ant. "Woman, kneel down and kowtow to me. Maybe I'll let you go. How about that? You want me to beg for mercy from the demonic race? Impossible. You've got guts." The Wrath Demon Emperor chuckled. He raised his hand and summoned demonic chi to form a giant black hand that grabbed Zhan Hongying in midair. Kacha, kacha, kacha. Zhan Hongying's bones, flesh, and blood exploded. "Is it painful? If you beg for mercy, I'll let you go." The Wrath Demon Emperor laughed. Although Zhan Hongying screamed in pain, she did not beg for mercy. The emperors who were watching shook their heads and sighed. It's better to live than to die. To put it nicely, these Ashura tribe members are stubborn. To put it bluntly, they don't know what's good for them. Forget it. She's just a boundary emperor. Although she's talented and has the potential to become an emperor, this is as far as she can go. Just as Zhang Hongying was about to fall, a sword ray suddenly shot out. It was wrapped in extremely condensed Taoist markings and Emperor's Qi. It locked onto the Wrath Demon Emperor. The Wrath Demon Emperor's pupils dilated and he threw a punch. With a bang, the fist and the sword collided. Under the impact of the demonic Qi and Emperor's Qi, the beautiful white jade sword was sent flying and landed in the hands of a young man. It's you. Chapter 666. It's you. The Wrath Demon Emperor was knocked back a few steps. His pupils dilated when he saw who it was. That person was dressed in a snow-white robe, had waist-length hair, and held a beautiful white jade sword in his hand. With a single step, he seemed to have crossed the distance of tens of thousands of meters to reach Zhang Hongying's side. He then cast the Spring Breeze healing technique to heal Zhang Hongying. However, he realized that the spiritual Qi in the surroundings had been corroded by demonic Qi, so the Spring Breeze healing technique's effects were minimal. Fortunately, Chu Kuangren was a top-notch healer. He channeled his Emperor's Qi and formed a water droplet at the tip of his finger. The water droplet landed on Zhang Hongying's forehead, protecting her last bit of life. He then looked around and sighed. It's me. I'm too late. The Ashura tribe has protected the demonic realm for hundreds of thousands of years. Their spirits are immortal and will be passed down from generation to generation. There was a hint of sadness in his eyes. In front of him, the Wrath Demon Emperor laughed. No, you're not late. I can send you down to accompany them. Chu Kuangren put away his sadness and looked at the Wrath Demon Emperor with a cold, murderous intent. You're right. They're still waiting for someone to apologize to them. I'll send you down today. He handed Zhang Hongying over to the demonic wolf beside him and said, Take care of your master. Leave this to me. Awu, the demonic wolf grabbed Zhang Hongying with its mouth, threw her onto its back and left. After her. The Wrath Demon Emperor said. Suddenly, a group of demonic soldiers chased after Zhang Hongying. With a thought from Chu Kuangren, he lifted his hand and a stream of crimson flames gushed out, incinerating all the soldiers who were chasing after him into ashes. Kill every single demon that descends upon this realm today. Chu Kuangren held the Descendant Self-Sword in his right hand while his left burned with crimson phoenix flames. His cold and burning murderous intent enveloped the entire realm. The demonic emperor's eyes widened. He's an emperor. How long has it been since we last met, and he's already an emperor? This person's speed of growth is unbelievable. There was a hint of wariness in Demon Emperor Pride's eyes. Including this time, he had only met Chu Kuangren a total of 3 times. The first time, Chu Kuangren was just an honorable. The second time, Chu Kuangren had become a boundary emperor, and this time, Chu Kuangren had become an emperor. Not only that, it's always you. You're always the one standing in front of the devil realm. You're really the biggest stumbling block for the devil realm. Demon Emperor Pride said in a low voice, All right, I'll avenge my son Tu Heng today. Tu Heng, the forbidden prodigy of the demon race. He was also a strong candidate for the throne. However, he was killed by Chu Kuangren in the Emperor's Road. Ever since Demon Emperor Pride heard of this news, he had been brooding over it. He and Chu Kuangren had long become mortal enemies. Kill? Demon Emperor Pride was the first to make his move. A dark red longsword suddenly appeared in his hand, and a surging saber ray circulated before it turned into a 1,000-meter-long saber shadow that slashed down at Chu Kuangren. Invincible magic, reverse heaven and earth. Chu Kuangren also unleashed a sword attack. However, the moment the saber shadow and sword ray came into contact, Chu Kuangren was at a disadvantage for the first time. His entire body was blasted back several hundred meters by the saber ray. Chu Kuangren frowned. Indeed. Demon Emperor Pride's cultivation base was at the 9th level of the Emperor realm. After absorbing the divine parasol fruit, Chu Kuangren's cultivation base had also reached the 4th level of the Emperor realm. That was already a great emperor. On top of that, he had a top-tier profound technique, a perfect Tao, and an ultimate emperor's essence. Chu Kuangren was confident that he should not have been at a disadvantage in that attack. However, after he unleashed that sword attack, its power was greatly reduced as if it was being suppressed by a certain force. It's this realm. This realm is suppressing my Tao and power. Chu Kuangren murmured as he realized that something was wrong. Chu Kuangren, Do you know why the other emperors of Firmament Star didn't come? It's because of this demonic realm domain. Within this domain, any non-demonic beings will be suppressed. I can't believe you have the guts to step in alone. Demon Emperor Pride sneered. The other demon emperors looked like they were watching a show. They did not interfere. From their point of view, Chu Kuangren was no match for their real bodies. Coupled with the demonic realm domain, Demon Emperor Pride alone was enough to deal with him. Don't compare me to those cowards. Chu Kuangren chuckled. He activated the Emperor's chi in his body and activated the 10,000 avatar. The emperors who were secretly observing the situation frowned. They were very unhappy with Chu Kuangren's words. What does this guy mean? He's still so arrogant at a time like this. Just because of what he said earlier, I originally wanted to save him, but now I don't even want to anymore. That's right. We must let him suffer a little. The emperors communicated through their emperor's thoughts. Meanwhile, in the Black Heaven sect, several rays of light were rushing towards the Purgatory Forest. They were Lan Yu, the godly phoenix, and the other new emperors. They wanted to support Chu Kuangren. However, before they could even get close to the Purgatory Forest, they were blocked by an invisible force. It was the demonic realm domain. Inside the Purgatory Forest, the demon emperor of greed licked his lips and said, I've just activated the demonic realm domain's barrier. As long as we don't agree, the other emperors won't be able to enter. Kid, you're all alone now. Outside the Purgatory Forest, Murong Xin, Lan Yu, and the others were attacking the demonic realm's barrier. They activated their emperor's chi and continuously attacked the demonic realm's barrier. However, they were all blocked and could not be moved. After all, they were just a few new emperors. Emperors, are you guys going to continue watching the show? That's right. The demonic realm has invaded and Firmament Star is in danger. As emperors, are you guys going to sit back and do nothing? Murong Xian questioned the emperors. He knew that the emperors were watching this battle. Newcomer Emperor, you don't know how powerful the demonic realm domain is. If we enter, our combat strength will be reduced to less than 10%. This battle is no longer something we can handle. We've already reported it to the higher-ups. The Celestial Condensation Emperor's voice sounded. Murong Xian's expression darkened. Since we've reported it to the Heavenly Venerables, when will they arrive? A day at the earliest. Firmament Star is the origin of the Heavenly Tao. The Heavenly Venerables will not sit back and watch as the demonic realm takes over this place. A day? Do you think the sect leader will have enough time to stop the hundreds of millions of demonic army and the 7 demonic emperors for a day? Murong Xian was so angry that his face turned pale. Isn't Chu Kuangren very powerful? I believe this small matter is nothing to him. Who knows, he might even turn the tables and wipe out the entire demonic army. A playful voice was heard. It was Dark North Schwanz's voice. He had a grudge against Chu Kuangren, so he could not help but mock him when he saw that Chu Kuangren was at a disadvantage. You guys. Murong Xian could tell that the emperors wanted to use this opportunity to make Chu Kuangren suffer. However, there was nothing he could do. With his strength as a new emperor, coupled with Lan Yu, Leng Ningyu, and the godly phoenix, it was impossible for them to break through the barrier. Chapter 667. Within the Purgatory Forest, Chu Kuangren had single-handedly fought against the entire demonic army. However, due to the suppression of the demon realm, his Dao and cultivation had been greatly weakened. Even with a powerful move like the 10,000 Daos, he was still at a disadvantage against Demon Emperor Pride. If this goes on, it will be very disadvantageous for me, Chu Kuangren muttered. He took a deep breath and a silver-white Dao pattern flowed on his palm. Fine, I'll try this power. Chu Kuangren clenched his fists, and a majestic surge of heavenly poise erupted from his body, causing the weaker demonic cultivators around him to tremble. A layer of miraculous Dao patterns covered the 10,000 Dharma characteristics. That was the Heaven Punishment Dao pattern. The Heavenly Punishment Dao pattern appeared, and the 10,000 Dharma forms punched out. The terrifying power directly created pitch-black cracks in the air. Demon Emperor Pride was caught off guard, and he was sent flying by this punch, smashing through several mountain ranges in succession. The demonic army widened their eyes and fell into a deathly silence. The other demon emperors were also shocked, not daring to believe it. Even Chu Kuangren himself was a little shocked. He felt that the strange suppressive feeling around him had disappeared. Right now he was not suppressed at all. His entire body was relaxed. What's going on? Can the Heaven Punishment Dao pattern counteract this suppression? Chu Kuangren could feel the rising energy in his body and could not help but feel a little surprised. A thoughtful look appeared in his eyes. Demon Emperor pride rushed out of the mountain range. That punch just now had caused him some injuries, but it was just a little. What shocked him even more was, the demonic realm domain was useless against Chu Kuangren. Such a thing was almost impossible to happen. What's going on? Demon Emperor pride looked a little surprised. This realm of the demon realm originates from the gods of hell. Even a celestial master can't be completely unaffected. How did you do it? The gods of hell? Chu Kuangren muttered. It seemed like it was really the effect of the heaven punishment Dao pattern. In the past, when he used the power of the heavenly punishment Dao rhyme to fight against the light god and dark god, they had shown fear towards the heavenly punishment Dao rhyme. Right now, the power of the devil realm domain originated from the gods. It could suppress Empyreans, but it couldn't suppress him who had the heavenly punishment Dao pattern. In other words, the heavenly punishment Dao pattern had a restraining effect on the gods. Interesting. Does this mean that I'll have to face the gods sooner or later? Chu Kuangren smirked. The heavenly punishment pattern covered the Dharma form. Around him, his aura was rising steadily, and the cultivation of the fourth level of the sovereign realm was fully unleashed. His perfect Tao and ultimate Empyrean origin all erupted. Boom, boom, with Chu Kuangren as the epicenter, the terrifying emperor's aura spread in all directions, shaking everything within 100,000 kilometers. The emperors who were observing from the shadows were shocked. How could this be? How could he have such power? Previously he was clearly in the second stage. How did he become a fourth stage cultivator? Even if he has the divine parasol fruit, isn't the speed of his refinement a little too fast? He's not affected by the domain of the demonic world. How did he do it? There's also this kind of Tao pattern. What exactly is it? It's really too mysterious. Even with my cultivation, I can't comprehend a single bit of it. All the emperors looked at Chu Kuangren in bewilderment. In such a short time, Chu Kuangren had broken through from the second level of the emperor realm to the fourth level. Not only that, but he had also unleashed combat strength that far exceeded his cultivation level. Moreover, he was not affected by the demonic world's domain at all. All of these made the emperors feel incredulous. A new emperor was able to shock them again and again. That Tao pattern is, the star condensation great emperor who was the leader of the group of emperors, seemed to have thought of something when he saw the heavenly punishment Tao pattern on Chu Kuangren's body. His eyes were filled with disbelief. Somewhere else on a certain mountain peak, the mysterious cloaked person who had just opened the demonic realm's seal and left the infernal forest was also watching the battle between the demonic realm and Chu Kuangren. When she saw the heavenly punishment Tao pattern on Chu Kuangren's body, she was equally shocked. The power of the heavenly punishment, the heavenly executioner. Impossible, this is impossible. How can Chu Kuangren be a heavenly executioner? There are only so many heavenly executioners. How did a new heavenly executioner appear out of nowhere? Besides, those few heavenly executioners were all trusted aides of the human king. Now that the human king is dead, how did Chu Kuangren gain such power? The mysterious cloaked person was extremely shocked. A heavenly executioner. To her, or to the organization behind her, this was extremely terrifying. It was an existence that even the deities were afraid of. Chu Kuangren. This matter is of great importance. We must report this to the leader and the others as soon as possible. A new heavenly executioner that came out of nowhere is just too unbelievable. The mysterious cloaked person murmured. In the infernal forest, Chu Kuangren activated the heavenly punishment Tao pattern, the ultimate emperor essence, and the perfect Taoist. His power shook the entire demonic realm. Even Demon Emperor Pride, who was a ninth heaven emperor, felt waves of pressure. The rest of the demonic emperors looked solemn as well. This guy is too scary. He wasn't even an emperor the last time we met, but now he's so powerful. He's always the one standing in front of us. D***it. Let's attack together. We must kill him today. This person is not affected by the demonic realm's domain suppression. We can't let him live. The demonic emperors looked at each other and made up their minds. 7 different emperors' auras erupted and locked onto Chu Kuangren. Kill. The 7 demonic emperors charged at Chu Kuangren together. Come. Chu Kuangren, who was going all out for the first time, was not afraid at all. He activated the 10,000 avatar Daos and clashed with the 7 demonic emperors. Furious flow. The enraged demonic emperor let out a roar as he unleashed his demonic chi, which turned into a black torrent that surged towards Chu Kuangren. At the same time, the 10,000 Daos punched the black torrent. With a loud bang, cracks appeared in the space. The Wrath Demon Emperor was sent flying by the terrifying power that erupted from the fusion of multiple Dao bodies, and smashed into the demonic realm army. Some of the demonic creatures that were hit by him exploded. When Chu Kuangren was still in the second stage Emperor realm, he could already suppress 2 6th-stage Daoist realm cultivators with just the 10,000 Daoist avatar. Now that he had advanced to the 4th stage of the Emperor realm, under the situation where the ultimate Emperor origin energy was fully unleashed, even a 9th stage realm would find it hard to resist. Unless it was those 9th stage realm cultivators with extremely strong foundations. However, the Wrath Demon Emperor's foundation was not very strong. He only had an incomplete Dao and mid-grade Emperor essence, which was why he was sent flying by this punch. The other demonic emperors also attacked Chu Kuangren. Devourer of Greed. Proud Heart Secret Art. Eye of Jealousy. Heaven Devouring Undercurrent. Several different Emperor/S auras erupted with countless mysterious Daoist patterns that covered the heavens and earth as they blasted towards Chu Kuangren. The attack came from all directions. Even the 10,000 Daos could not completely block it. Phoenix Flames. Chu Kuangren let out a low roar and terrifying blood-red flames gushed out from his surroundings. The 10,000 Daos avatar also let out a low roar and waved its fists. The Phoenix Flames and Daoist avatar energy erupted at the same time. Coupled with the heavenly punishment Daoist patterns, its power was multiplied. Amidst the explosion, the terrifying impact caused cracks to spread across the space. The entire Purgatory Forest was completely shattered. Chapter 668. Inside the Purgatory Forest, amidst a sea of fire, Chu Kuangren controlled the 10,000 Daoist avatars and faced the 7 demonic emperors alone. The emperors who were secretly observing felt their breaths getting heavier. Not only did he have so many Daoist physiques, but he could also control the Phoenix Flames. That was the power of the godly Phoenix. They even wondered if Chu Kuangren could undergo nirvana. In fact, Chu Kuangren could. The godly Phoenix physique also gave him the ability to undergo nirvana. However, he had the immortal body, so he could not use the nirvana ability. All of you attack. The furious demonic emperor roared. In an instant, the hundreds of millions of demonic soldiers behind him surged towards Chu Kuangren. The demonic chi was like a torrent that shook the heavens and earth. There were demons, demonic dragons, 3-headed hounds, demonic wolves, and so on. There were countless of them. Aside from their species, most of them were at the honorable realm. A portion of them were sages and boundary emperors. Even an emperor would have a hard time against such a large army. The 7 demonic emperors wanted to overwhelm Chu Kuangren with numbers. Unfortunately, Chu Kuangren was least afraid of group battles. What he was best at was fighting a group alone. Demonic scum, I'll kill as many as you come. Chu Kuangren grinned as a ray of lightning shot out from his body. The lightning flew into the demonic army, and wherever it went, the demonic soldiers were crushed by the terrifying lightning energy. The lightning returned to Chu Kuangren and turned into a blue Guqin. Emperor weapon Spring Thunder. Chu Kuangren placed all 10 fingers on the Guqin strings, and the celestial demonic music was played. The celestial demonic music unleashed its destructive power. The horrifying sound waves were accompanied by the solidified Daoist patterns that spread out and danced in the air, shattering countless demonic soldiers. The heads of demonic hounds, the arms of demonic dragons, broken weapons, blood-stained armors, and internal organs mixed with blood danced in the air. The ultimate sound of the human world painted a scene of Azura purgatory. The heavens and earth were boundless, and the city was filled with wind and rain. Chu Kuangren's Guqin music became louder and louder, and the Guqin Daoist patterns surrounded him. Not a single demonic soldier could get within 10 feet of him. D*eminent, D*eminent. This guy has too many tricks up his sleeves. It'll be difficult to win in a group battle. The only way is to defeat him. Demonic soldiers formed the demonic dragon formation. Demon Emperor Pride roared. Countless demon soldiers heard the summons and lined up in the air. In next to no time, an enormous formation was set up while profound Dao markings flowed about, and it transformed into a pitch-black and savage enormous devil dragon. Roar. With a furious roar, the demonic dragon released a terrifying sound wave that overpowered the Guqin music. Chu Kuangren's 8 celestial demonic chords could not help but stagnate. Oh, the power of the demonic world's formation, the demonic dragon? Let's try this. When Chu Kuangren lifted his arm, a huge amount of phoenix flames surged into the sky. The phoenix fire gathered in the air along with countless runes, turning into a blood-red divine phoenix. A sharp cry rang out, and countless demonic beasts felt a tremble from the depths of their bloodlines. This was the might of a divine beast. The blood-red divine phoenix condensed from phoenix fire and the demonic dragon condensed from demonic energy collided in the air, and a terrifying shockwave spread out continuously. Roar! The battle between the divine phoenix and the demonic dragon dyed the sky black and red. The surrounding mountains and rivers shook violently. The emperors who were secretly observing the battle were shocked by this power. This power is no longer something an ordinary 9th-level Emperor realm cultivator can compare to. What's this guy's limit? Or rather, does he even have a limit? How did he master the godly phoenix's power? Even Chu Hong was secretly amazed. Big Brother's phoenix fire is even better than mine. It's amazing. Although she was a godly phoenix. However, after Chu Kuangren mastered the godly phoenix physique, the power of his phoenix fire was the same as hers. Coupled with the gap in their realms, Chu Kuangren's phoenix fire was even more powerful than Chu Hong's. Boom, boom, boom. The battle between the demonic dragon and the godly phoenix became more and more intense. When the 7 demonic emperors saw that, they looked at each other and charged towards Chu Kuangren while he was controlling the godly phoenix to fight the demonic dragon. Oh, you guys really know how to seize the opportunity. Unfortunately, you've underestimated me. Chu Kuangren moved his mind, and the 10,000 Taoist avatars behind him moved, blocking all the demonic emperor's attacks. Chu Kuangren was multitasking, but he was still able to deal with the attacks with ease. Not only that, but he also played the celestial demonic chord. A terrifying sound wave instantly erupted. This time, it was the 8th celestial demonic chord, Grand Note of Silence. The soundless Guqin music carried physical Taoist patterns and crashed into the demonic soldiers who were setting up the formation in the distance. The demonic emperor's expressions changed. Oh no! The Guqin music landed among the demonic soldiers and exploded. Countless demonic soldiers' flesh and blood exploded, and broken limbs flew everywhere. The formation that spawned the demonic dragon was destroyed, and the demonic dragon in the sky was greatly weakened. It was immediately suppressed by the godly phoenix. Not long after, the phoenix fire burned the demonic chi and burned the entire demonic dragon into ashes. Not only that, but the godly phoenix let out a piercing shriek and charged into the demonic army. It exploded, and an endless amount of phoenix fire gushed out in all directions. Amidst the screams, countless demonic soldiers were turned into ashes. The 7 demonic emperors' expressions were extremely grim. Guqin music and phoenix fire were enough to kill any ordinary demonic soldier. Chu Kuangren had killed hundreds of millions of demonic soldiers, but he had lost almost half of them. On the other hand, his opponent was unscathed. This guy is really the nemesis of the demonic realm. Is there really nothing the demonic realm can do to him? The demonic emperors gritted their teeth. The demonic soldiers were terrified. Everyone, do you still remember the power of 7 sins? Just then, Demon Emperor Pride took a deep breath and said. The other demonic emperor's expressions changed. You're crazy. Demon Emperor Wrath growled. I'm not crazy. This is the only way to deal with this guy. It's a little risky, but it's worth a try. Demon Emperor Pride said firmly. The demonic emperor's expressions changed as if they were hesitant. We've never tried this before. Then today is the best chance. Let's try it. Demon Emperor Wrath gritted his teeth and said. Bring it on then. Demon Emperor Envy, Demon Emperor Greed, and the others also had a determined look in their eyes. Then the 7 of them stood together. Chu Kuangren watched from the side while the 10,000 avatars behind him unleashed a punch. However, a strange fluctuation emanated from the 7 demonic emperors' bodies, forcing the 10,000 avatars to retreat. The 7 demonic emperors turned into 7 rays of black light that converged in the air and formed a huge black light cocoon. There were Taoist patterns on it, and one could vaguely see a human figure floating in the light cocoon. See, this is the power of 7 sins. An old demonic cultivator gulped and said. The other demonic cultivators were shocked too. Legend has it that the power of the 7 demonic emperors originates from the deities, and their powers can merge with each other. That new power is called the power of 7 sins. So it's true. The power of 7 sins is close to the power of the gods. Chu Kuangren's interest was piqued as he looked at the black light cocoon. Close to the power of the gods? Interesting. Let's see what you can do. Chapter 669. Inside the black light cocoon, a figure floated. An incomparably tyrannical aura that far surpassed the 9th stage of the Imperial Emperor realm poured out, causing the surrounding space to tremble. Everything within a radius of 10,000 miles was shocked. Immediately afterward, a hand stretched out from the black light cocoon, and the entire light cocoon turned into light spots and quickly dissipated, revealing a slender figure. It was an extremely seductive man with long purple hair, a black armor clinging to his body, and a long saber in his hand. The Emperor's aura on his body was like a tide, spreading wave after wave. All the creatures from the demonic realm could not help but feel a sense of surrender, wanting to kneel on the ground and worship. 7 sins. Is this the power of 7 sins? It's really strong. The seductive man stood in the air, feeling the surging demonic chi in his body, and a joyful smile appeared on his face. Chu Kuangren watched from the side and activated his eye of revelation. The fusion of the power of 7 demonic emperors, blessed by the power of the gods. How should I address you now? Arrogant, greedy, angry? Chu Kuangren said playfully. 7 sins. My name is 7 sins. The seductive man, 7 sins, said proudly. He looked at Chu Kuangren with cold eyes, as if he was looking at a dead man, without the slightest emotion. He took a step forward and instantly appeared in front of Chu Kuangren. The long saber in his hand turned into a black arc light and suddenly slashed out. Chu Kuangren also slashed out with the long sword in his hand. A clang was heard. The sword and saber collided, and the chi and Taoist patterns danced and shot out. Chu Kuangren was repelled. The 10,000 avatars behind him punched out at the same time, and the surging avatar power gathered like a destructive storm that locked onto 7 sins. Do you think your avatar power is still useful? 7 sins laughed and slashed out again. The black saber light whistled and tore the storm apart, forcing the avatar back. However, a mysterious Taoist pattern crossed the void and landed on him, causing him to vomit blood and fly backward. This power again? What the hell is this thing? 7 sins looked at the heavenly punishment Taoist patterns that circulated around Chu Kuangren, and his eyes darkened with fear. After transforming into 7 sins, he felt that the threat of the heavenly punishment Tao pattern to him had actually increased. Chu Kuangren had noticed this as well. The power of the 7 sins is basically the power of the gods. However, my heavenly punishment Taoist pattern can restrain the gods, and the 7 sins happens to be the target of its restraint. He made up his mind to study this heaven punishment Tao pattern when he returned. He felt that this thing would be of great use to him in the future, especially when it came to dealing with the gods. Even if you have this strange Taoist mark, the gap between you and me is huge now. You're doomed to die today. 7 sins said coldly, its killing intent towards Chu Kuangren growing stronger. A gap in cultivation? That's hard to say. Suddenly, Chu Kuangren activated his mind power. In the air, a large number of mysterious patterns appeared and condensed into a gigantic colorful rune. 9 Dragons Divine Transformation. The divine 9 dragon transformation talismans appeared, and the demonic energy in the surroundings surged toward the talismans in a frenzy, turning into 9 ferocious roaring demonic dragons. 7 sins' expression changed slightly. What are you doing? Chu Kuangren did not say a word, but the 9 ferocious demonic dragons had already swooped down towards him and quickly merged into his body. You're crazy. How dare you forcefully inject demonic chi? 7 sins said in disbelief. Not only him but the rest of the emperors were also shocked. The demonic chi was different from the firmament star's spiritual chi. For non-demonic beings, it was like poisonous gas that was harmful to them. Yet now, Chu Kuangren dared to forcefully inject demonic chi into his body. In the eyes of the crowd, such an act was tantamount to suicide. I know that talisman of his. This person can use this talisman to transform the spiritual chi of heaven and earth into dragon chi, and then forcefully increase his cultivation. So what if that's the case? He's forcefully absorbing demonic chi now, which is useless to humans. There's demonic chi everywhere in this demonic realm domain. How much spiritual chi is there for him to absorb? He's dead meat. What happened next was even more shocking to the crowd. They saw that Chu Kuangren, who had forcefully absorbed the demonic chi into his body, did not show any signs of discomfort like everyone had imagined. On the contrary, his aura was still rising steadily. Emperor level 5, Emperor level 6, Emperor level 7. With the help of the 9 Dragons Divine Transformation Talisman, Chu Kuangren's cultivation had broken through 3 levels and reached the Emperor level 7 in one fell swoop. In other words, he was a perfected emperor. Everyone was dumbfounded by this scene. What kind of talisman is that? How can it be so powerful? How can he absorb demonic chi? The emperors were shocked and puzzled. Seven Sins, on the other hand, felt an immense pressure. After Chu Kuangren felt the surge of power in his body, a satisfied smile appeared on his face. Not too bad. The Nine Dragons' Divine Transformation Talisman was a legendary talisman. As his cultivation grew stronger, its power would correspondingly increase as well. With his current cultivation level, it allowed him to break through 3 levels in one go and become a perfected emperor. As for absorbing demonic chi into his body, that was not a problem for Chu Kuangren at all. To put it bluntly, devil chi was just a kind of strange energy. Since he had the universal cauldron physique, he could absorb all kinds of strange energies between heaven and earth. Demonic chi and spiritual chi were no different to him. Come, let's continue. Chu Kuangren looked at Seven Sins and said, once the Descendant Self-Sword was unleashed, it would be an invincible technique. The strange phenomenon of the sun and the moon being reversed and the stars falling suddenly erupted. This technique of invincibility was accompanied by the heavenly punishment Taoist patterns, which formed a restraining effect on Seven Sins and made him feel even more pressured. Pride slash. Seven Sins raised his hand and slashed out a blade, colliding with the technique of invincibility. However, the huge force sent Seven Sins flying backward by a few dozen feet. His body trembled violently, and the power of Seven Sins showed signs of collapsing. I don't believe this. I have jealousy. A terrifying demonic light burst out from Seven Sins' eyes, as if it had pierced through the void and shot towards Chu Kuangren. Heaven Vortex. Taoist patterns flowed between Chu Kuangren's palms and condensed into a vortex. The demonic light was absorbed by the vortex, disintegrated, and then reflected. Seven Sins did not expect such a result and was blasted back again. Devourer of Greed. Raging Fist. Seven Sins attacked again, and the billowing demonic chi turned into a giant black snake. Huge fist shadows whizzed towards Chu Kuangren from the left and right. Break. Chu Kuangren let out a soft roar, and the 10,000 Taoist avatars behind him, wrapped in Taoist patterns, smashed the demonic snake fist. D*Amenit, D*Amenit. Blade of Lust. Seven Sins' face was as gloomy as water, and he activated his strongest technique. As the blade slashed down, the surroundings turned into an ambiguous pink, and one by one seductive women flew towards Chu Kuangren in the air. These women were either laughing, annoyed, or resentful. Each of them was a heavenly beauty that was enough to make people fall head over heels for them. Even the emperors who were secretly observing could not help but be in a trance for a moment, feeling extremely fearful. Because behind these seductive women, there was a huge blade shadow following closely. Once one was confused by the scene in front of them, this blade would take advantage of the moment when one was distracted and cut them in half. Lust was like a blade above one's head. However, Chu Kuangren's eyes were clear, and he was not affected at all. You're just some female skeletons and you want to mess with my Taoist core. Break. Chapter 670. The heavenly punishment Taoist pattern can be combined with runes? I see. After witnessing the 7 divine punishments, Chu Kuangren had a new understanding of the heavenly punishment Taoist pattern. In the following days, he devoted himself to the study of the heavenly punishment Taoist pattern. Besides that, a series of changes were also happening in Firmament Star. For example, the heavenly Tao's revival, the rise of various sky prides, the emergence of various treasures, the unsealing of the deities, and the rise of some sects. Time flew and 3 months had passed. In these 3 months, the changes were not huge, but if one were to put it simply, everyone could clearly feel that Firmament Star had changed. The spiritual chi was more abundant, the treasures were more abundant, and it was easier for cultivators to cultivate. This was especially true in the Black Heaven sect's territory. How many treasures have been unearthed this month? In the Black Heaven sect, Elder Rian looked at a disciple carrying back a huge piece of jade that contained extremely pure energy. This should be the 6th. Put it in the treasury, Elder Rian said. In the past few months, because of the godly phoenix's presence, various treasures had appeared in the Black Heaven sect's territory, making many emperors envious. However, those emperors did not dare to have any strange thoughts. After all, with the godly phoenix's identity, who would dare to mess around? Moreover, many people were guessing that Chu Kuangren was also a person of great fortune. Otherwise, how could the godly phoenix have produced so many treasures in a small area of 100,000 kilometers? However, that was only a guess and there was no solid evidence. Black Heaven Sect inside the towering Heaven Palace. Chu Kuangren ended his closed-door meditation and opened the fantasy roulette. In the past 3 months he had also been drawing gems. However, at his current cultivation level, most of the items he drew were no longer useful to him. Hence, he would put all the prizes into the Black Heaven Sect's treasury. For so many years, the Black Heaven Sect had been consuming resources, but Elder Rian and the others had never felt like they were stretched thin. On the contrary, everyone felt that the more treasures they used, the more treasures they had. Let's begin the gems. Congratulations, host. You have obtained a Supreme Deity Grade Divine Ability Upgrade card. Divine Ability Upgrade card. Chu Kuangren's eyes lit up. Another Supreme Deity reward. With his current cultivation level, ordinary legendary level rewards were no longer of much use to him. Only God level and transcendent God level rewards would be of great help to him, such as Undying Body, Space Transportation Technique. These divine level rewards were still very useful to him. There was no need to mention the Book of Physique and the Luck Glow at the transcendent level. The former had allowed him to draw quite a few good items. Without this halo he probably wouldn't have improved so quickly. As for the latter, as he delved deeper into his research, its value gradually manifested. Now he had drawn another transcendent reward. He opened his inventory. Supreme God Level Reward, Divine Ability Upgrade card. Using this card you can upgrade a specified mystical ability. There is a certain chance that it will be upgraded to the transcendent stage. This card made Chu Kuangren fall into deep thought. A specific divine ability? Right now, I have the Space Transfer Technique, the 4 Symbols Primordial Divine Sword, the Treasure Seeking Technique, and the Insightful Eye. Since it's an upgrade, of course it's best to maximize the usefulness of this card. Right now, the most useful ones are the Insightful Eye and the Space Transfer Technique. I'll choose between these two. Chu Kuangren pondered. After thinking for a while, he finally chose the Insightful Eye. This divine ability had been with him for the longest time and had helped him a lot. As for the Space Transfer Technique, although it was also very powerful, it was not like there were no techniques in this world that were related to space. However, the Insightful Eye was different. This was the most unique divine ability that Chu Kuangren had ever seen. He really wanted to know what kind of effect this divine ability would have if it was upgraded. At that thought, he used the Divine Ability Upgrade card. Choose to upgrade Divine Ability Insightful Eye? Yes. Insightful Eye upgrading progress. 1%. Divine abilities needed a certain amount of time to upgrade, so Chu Kuangren no longer paid attention to it and let it upgrade on its own. After that, he left the towering Heaven Palace and patrolled around the Black Heaven Sect, paying special attention to the location of the hidden illusory secret realm. There, many disciples were queuing up to enter the hidden illusory secret realm. He smiled in satisfaction. These guys are quite self-aware. As the saying goes, the master leads the way, but the cultivation is up to the individual. If these guys were not self-aware and did not work hard, no matter how many resources Chu Kuangren prepared for them, it would be useless. Upon arriving at the Longevity Hall, Elder Rian was busy sorting out some of the treasures. Seeing that Chu Kuangren had arrived, Elder Rian glanced at him and said, "Sect leader, please remember to categorize the items you put into the treasury next time. Weapons are weapons and supreme elixirs are elixirs. The last time I entered the treasury, an axe fell from the ceiling. If I hadn't dodged it in time, I think my head would have been chopped off. I'll be more careful next time." Chu Kuangren scratched his head and laughed awkwardly. "You." Elder Rian shook her head helplessly. In the next few days, Chu Kuangren briefly dealt with some of the backlog of affairs in the Black Heaven Sect. Among them there was one thing that caught his attention. In the Firmament Nebula's barren path state, a few strange churches suddenly appeared. In just a few months they had grown to tens of millions of followers, and there were even many experts among them. Chu Kuangren pondered. This was probably the work of those deities. Moreover, isn't the School of White Lotus located in the Cloudy Path state? Looks like I need to check it out. The School of White Lotus was considered an ally of the Black Heaven Sect, and he still held the title of Supreme Elder of the School of White Lotus. The Cloudy Path state. The person in charge of this state was a 4th-level Emperor Realm Emperor. The first thing Chu Kuangren did when he arrived was to look for the emperor and question, "How do you explain yourself when a church of a deity appeared in your territory?" The emperor did not dare to be careless when he saw Chu Kuangren. He quickly explained, "Lord Heavenly Executioner, it's not that I don't care, but I can't. Those churches are secretly controlled by the Myriad Deity sect, and there are a few deities among them. I'm no match for them at all. Where are the heavenly honorables? Are they not here yet? Chu Kuangren frowned. Now there are only heavenly honorable Su and a few other lower-level heavenly honorables in the firmament star. As for the other heavenly honorables, I heard that the front line of the extraterrestrial battlefield is in an emergency, so they can't come. The Emperor said helplessly. He initially thought that coming to Firmament Star to look after the deity seal was a lucrative job, but now it seemed like things were not as simple as he thought. If he was not careful, the danger would be no less than the extraterrestrial battlefield. Did something happen in the extraterrestrial battlefield too? Isn't it too much of a coincidence that the deities are stirring up trouble at this time? Chu Kuangren muttered to himself. There were internal and external threats. The Firmament Star was really in a precarious situation now. He shook his head, took out a jade scroll, and contacted 7th Executioner to ask for his opinion on the church that had recently appeared. He knew that the other party was being held back by 2 higher deities. Once he made a move, the 2 higher deities would follow suit. He had not fully recovered from his injuries. If he were to fight against 2 higher deities alone, even with the heavenly punishment energy, he would not be able to gain much of an advantage. Hence, he could only bide his time for now. Chapter 671. In the demon world, the dark red sky never changed. Chu Kuangren went on a killing spree in the demonic realm for 3 days. Aside from the demon emperor Pride, who was nowhere to be found, the other 6 demon emperors were all killed by him. The entire demonic realm was terrorized by him alone. With that done, Chu Kuangren left the demonic realm. Behind him, countless demons trembled in fear. After he left, everyone looked as if they had just survived a disaster. This is too terrifying. This is simply a nightmarish 3 days. Since the establishment of the demon realm, there has never been such a moment. How can there be such a terrifying human? Of the 7 demon emperors, some are dead and some have disappeared. The isolation of the entire demon realm has undergone a huge change because of a single human. Has the world become so dangerous? This person has been killing for 3 days and 3 nights. The experts of the demon world and the army were almost wiped out by him alone. If the demon world wants to descend into the world again, I'm afraid they won't be able to gather a decent army. Countless devils were discussing spiritedly, and there were still remnants of fear in their hearts. The other side. On a blood-colored mountain peak, Demon Emperor Pride stared at the entrance to the demon realm in the sky with extreme hatred in his eyes, as well as a deep sense of fear. He hated it. He had witnessed Chu Kuangren's massacre for the past 3 days, but he did not dare to make a move. Instead, he hid himself well. Even if Chu Kuangren personally came to the imperial palace, destroyed it, and massacred his army and subordinates, he would not dare to make a sound or move. Because he understood. As long as he appeared, there would only be one outcome. That was death. He wanted to live. As long as he was alive, he would have the chance to take revenge. Chu Kuangren, you've trampled all over my dignity and pride, causing me to lose all my dignity. One day I'll make you pay me back 100-fold, even if I have to pay a terrible price for it. Demon Emperor Pride let out a low growl that was stifling his anger. Terrifying demonic energy poured out of his body. The entire blood-colored mountain peak was reduced to dust in an instant. He gradually calmed himself down and looked into the depths of the demonic realm. His eyes flickered twice. If I want to deal with Chu Kuangren, I'll have to rely on the power of the deities. Hell is the demonic realm's greatest forbidden ground. Only there can I find an opportunity. Firmament Star, within the Purgatory Forest. Chu Kuangren stepped out of the entrance of the demonic realm. His white robe was still spotless, but his body was overflowing with murderous intent that was almost tangible. 3 consecutive days of killing was no joke. Chu Kuangren could no longer remember how many demonic creatures he had killed. 100 million, 200 million. That was no longer important. Most importantly, after this battle, the underworld would not be able to gather enough troops to invade Firmament Star in a short period of time. Just based on this point alone, Chu Kuangren felt that it was worth it even if he had to bear the heaviest amount of killing and the heinous sins he had committed. He's out. Such a murderous aura. How many has he killed? Oh my God! When the emperors saw Chu Kuangren walking out of the demonic realm vortex, their pupils dilated. They were shocked by his murderous intent. Murong Xian and the others who had been waiting outside were delighted. They were all relieved that Chu Kuangren was fine. Within the Purgatory Forest, Chu Kuangren frowned when he sensed that the demonic realm domain had not completely disappeared. He then raised his hand and punched towards the sky. With a loud explosion, the heavens and earth shook. This punch seemed to have hit some kind of barrier. The void exploded on the spot, and 7 black iron orders fell from the sky. The demonic realm domain instantly disappeared. Chu Kuangren grabbed the 7 iron tokens in midair. Is this the power that formed the demonic realm domain? Chu Kuangren fiddled with the iron tokens with a curious look. The names of the 7 great demonic emperors were engraved on the iron tokens, and they were engraved with mysterious Taoist patterns and surges of strange energy. It was a power that was completely different from the emperor's qi. Chu Kuangren was a little familiar with this power. It was as if he had seen it somewhere before. He remembered that he had once felt the same energy from the god of light and the god of darkness. Is this the so-called divine power? Chu Kuangren murmured. Divine power was the power that the deities used. He kept the 7 iron tokens and prepared to study them in the future. Besides, he had gained a lot from the massacre in the demonic realm. He would need to spend some time to organize them when he returned to the Black Heaven sect. Then, Chu Kuangren seemed to have thought of something, and a cold glint flashed across his eyes. Emperors, it's time to clean up this mess. His voice was not loud, but every emperor heard it loud and clear. However, the emperors did not make a move. Chu Kuangren raised an eyebrow and said coldly, "What? Do you want me to invite you one by one?" This time his tone was a lot more serious. The sky rumbled and a bolt of lightning exploded. It was as if the heavens were raging. The emperors could not help but shiver when they saw Chu Kuangren's murderous intent. They did not doubt that if Chu Kuangren really came for them, they would not have a good ending. Whoosh whoosh whoosh, rays of light came from afar and arrived at the Purgatory Forest. Chu Kuangren, why did you summon us here? The emperor of the Qilin clan, Dark North Xianxie, snorted and said. Chu Kuangren's eyes turned cold as he raised his hand and unleashed a punch. The terrifying fist wind caused Dark North Xianxie's expression to change. He tried his best to defend himself, but he was still blasted hundreds of feet away. He felt a tightness in his chest and could not help but vomit blood. I asked you guys to come, but you're not willing? Chu Kuangren, don't be too presumptuous. What? Do you dare to object to my presumptuous behavior? Chu Kuangren said coldly. The murderous intent in Chu Kuangren's eyes gave Dark North Xian goosebumps. He felt like his scalp was about to explode. Dark North Xianxie stood rooted to the ground, his face extremely pale. I'm asking you a question. Are you deaf? Answer me. Do you dare to object? Chu Kuangren yelled. The emperors who came from all directions were shocked. Good lord, an emperor is just short of being pointed at and scolded. Dark North Xianxie was extremely frustrated. He was still an emperor after all. He wanted to save face too. How could he swallow his anger in front of so many people? He gritted his teeth. I dare not. You're too quiet. Did you not eat? I dare not. Dark North Xianxie's face turned red as he yelled. He was afraid. The scene of Chu Kuangren slaughtering the demons and defeating the 7 great demon emperors was still fresh in his mind. No matter how dissatisfied he was, he could only swallow his anger. Beside him, Murong Xian was amazed. Only an emperor could be so frustrated. Only a sect leader could do such a thing. The other emperors were dumbfounded too. Chu Kuangren asked you a question and you dare not? Where is your dignity as an emperor? Then do you have any objections? Chu Kuangren glanced at the other emperors and said. Those who were stared at by him did not dare to look him in the eye. No. We dare not. Chu Kuangren had single-handedly suppressed the other emperors. Murong Xian and Lan Yu, who were also new emperors, looked at Chu Kuangren with admiration. Even Zi Wuji could not help but admire him. They were all new emperors, but why was the difference between them so huge? Chapter 672. The Church of Fire, the Church of Water, and the Church of Frost Snow have suddenly risen in power in the past few months. Not only that, but there are also many experts among them that we can't even imagine. In just a few months, more than half of the countries and towns in the cloudy wilderness Tao state have gained many believers. Even the Full Moon Kingdom, which worships the White Lotus Sage ruler, has suffered a huge blow. Now, many people in the Full Moon Kingdom have turned to the other 3 sects and worship their deities. At this point, the White Lotus leader and immemorial sage looked a little sad. They felt helpless about the loss of their believers. However, this was something they could not do anything about. Even they had to admit that the deities of the Church of Fire and the other sects were more powerful than the White Lotus Sage ruler. They were real deities. In addition, there were countless experts in these sections. If they casually created a few miracles, the cultivators would know what was going on. However, the common people would still worship them in large numbers. Initially, we have no control over who the common people choose to worship. However, from what we know, the Church of Fire and the others have deliberately created a series of disasters to increase their believers, causing countless deaths and injuries in the common people. In the end, they took the opportunity to win over the people. Previously, I encountered the people of the Church of Fire poisoning the water, causing an entire town to suffer from the disease. Almost 1 million people died, and in the end, the people of the Church of Fire appeared as saviors, saved them with the antidote, and lied to them that it was a blessing from the gods. How could the common people understand this? They all became believers of the Church of Fire. This is also the main reason why they could develop to such a level in such a short time. This method is too despicable. The White Lotus leader continued. It was precisely because of this that the White Lotus Society held a deep hatred for those sections. After exposing them, they were instead slandered as a heretical cult, which was why they had brought about the calamity of death upon themselves. What a consistent style. Chu Kuangren sneered. The method that the gods used to develop their believers was exactly the same as what he had heard when he was chatting with the Chaos Taoist Lord in the Emperor burying coffin. In ancient times, after the gods saw that the human race had become stronger, they also launched a series of disasters in order to obtain more faith energy. When the human race was powerless, they took advantage of the situation. Elder, how do you plan to deal with these sects? Immemorial Sage asked curiously. Chu Kuangren subconsciously tapped his fingers on the armrest of his chair before he stood up and said, Brother Qianyu, would you like to take a walk with me? Immemorial Sage paused for a moment, then nodded, all right. The two of them stood up and walked out of the School of White Lotus. In the Great Moon Kingdom, the citizens who were originally full of vigor were now filled with dejection. Their eyes were empty, and their expressions were numb as they walked. They were like walking corpses. These people seemed to have lost the meaning of living. Chu Kuangren and the Immemorial Sage arrived at a plaza. There were a few statues erected there. Those were the statues of the deities that the Church of Fire had erected. Beside them, there was a statue that had been pushed onto the ground. That statue was none other than Chu Kuangren's statue. Previously, Chu Kuangren came to the Full Moon Kingdom to help them purify the demonic qi when the three-headed underworld hound broke out of its seal. Many people were so grateful that they even built a statue for him. But now the statue was pushed to the ground and no one cared about it. Chu Kuangren activated his mind power and the statue stood up again. He said calmly, the people have changed a lot. The impact of the destruction of their faith is too great. The White Lotus Sage ruler that they've always believed in is only a false god. Anyone would feel terrible if they were in his shoes. Immemorial Sage sighed and said, after a disaster, people will lose their friends and loved ones, and a huge hole will appear in their hearts. They will either let time slowly heal that hole, or they will use other things to fill it up, such as faith. This is also the reason why the Church of Fire is able to grow their followers so quickly. I understand. Immemorial Sage nodded. It was the same for her when she was younger. Because of a disaster, she lost her family and friends. During that time, her heart was extremely empty as if she had lost her goal. No matter what she did, she had no motivation. Later on, she joined the School of White Lotus and worshipped the White Lotus Sage ruler. The emptiness in her heart was filled with faith, and that was how she recovered. By exposing the Church of Fire's evil deeds, you're doing it for the good of the people. Unfortunately, your methods are too direct. The people have just experienced a disaster, and the emptiness in their hearts has just been filled with faith. By exposing the Church of Fire, you're digging their hearts out again. Therefore, the people will subconsciously resist. Even if what you say is true, it will naturally lose some of its credibility. Sometimes it's not that people don't believe it, but they don't want to believe it. Chu Kuangren continued. Upon hearing that, Immemorial Sage frowned. She recalled the time when the Church of Fire's evil deeds were exposed. The people were indeed at a loss and terrified. It was as if they had lost their pillar of support. With just a few words from the Fire God cult and the other cults, the White Lotus cult, which had originally exposed the conspiracy, became the villains instead, and was being beaten and killed by the citizens. It was simply too unimaginable. Elder, are you saying that you want them to continue to be deceived and worship the murderers who killed them? Immemorial Sage felt that it was too ridiculous. However, having been in the School of White Lotus for so many years, she knew that such a ridiculous thing could happen. Of course not. There are ways to change this situation, such as giving them a new faith. Chu Kuangren looked at his statue in front of him and said, Upon hearing that, immemorial sage could already guess what he was going to do. She was shocked and her eyes were filled with disbelief. Elder, do you know what you're going to face if you do that? I do. The ones you're going to face are the deities and not just one or two of them. They're the ancient deities. Immemorial sage knew that Chu Kuangren had become an emperor. However, an emperor was still human. Could he really defeat the high and mighty deities? Deities? From today onwards, everyone except me is a false deity. Chu Kuangren flicked his sleeves and turned around. A gust of wind blew, and besides his statue, the other deities' statues exploded and turned into ashes. Let's go back. It's time to give those false deities a head-on blow. There's a price to pay for offending the deities. Chu Kuangren said and walked towards the school of White Lotus. Some of the sect's followers were enraged when they saw Chu Kuangren destroying the deities' statues. They rushed up to him and wanted to reason with him. However, Chu Kuangren created lotuses with every step he took. The white lotuses surrounded his body, and many of the sect's followers who got close to him were sent flying. When the followers of the school of White Lotus saw Chu Kuangren, who was surrounded by a divine radiance and was surrounded by lotuses, a glimmer of hope appeared in their eyes. Is that the bachelor sage? The bachelor sage is back. Immemorial sage looked at Chu Kuangren's back and took a deep breath. The only true God in this world. How exciting. Chapter 673. Chu Kuangren was speechless as he looked at the passionate emperors before him. Their attitude had changed too quickly. It seemed that the heavenly executioner identity was quite useful. After that, he would cast the sealing sword formation and use the emperor weapon as the core to reconstruct the seal on the sword formation that was previously destroyed. Alright, it's time for me to leave, Chu Kuangren said. With that, he led Lan Yu and the others out of the infernal forest. Looking at his departing figure, Honorable Su fell into deep thought. She then summoned the Starform Emperor and said, "Tell me everything you know about this person. The more detailed the better." Yes. The Starform Great Emperor nodded slightly and told them everything they knew about Chu Kuangren. Not far away from the infernal forest. Before Chu Kuangren and the others left, they found Zhan Hongying, who was taken away by the demon wolf. She was severely injured, and Chu Kuangren used a stream of water qi to protect her. Hence, she was brought back to the Black Heaven sect for treatment. 2 days later. In the marrow cleansing pool of the Black Heaven sect. A baby-faced woman with a beautiful figure was soaking in the pool. After a while, her eyelashes gently trembled and she slowly woke up. She looked around in confusion. Where am I? Woo woo! Beside her, a cry was heard. A demon wolf leaped out from the forest. At the same time, a white-robed woman walked out as well. She glanced at the woman in the pool and said, "You're finally awake." Here. Lan Yu? Zhan Hongying looked at Lan Yu in surprise. She recalled what she saw before she fainted and she could guess who it was. It was Brother Chu who saved me. Yes. Lan Yu waved her sleeves, and a few pieces of clothing and a mask appeared by the side of the pool. She said, "Master brought you back and used the water qi in the marrow cleansing pool to heal you. These are yours." Brother Chu healed me. Doesn't that mean? Zhan Hongying blushed as she looked at her naked body. Lan Yu guessed what she was thinking. Don't misunderstand, you don't have to be naked for treatment. You were only soaked here after you were almost healed. I was the one who took off your clothes. I just didn't expect the princess of the Ashura tribe to have such a baby face. You're quite cute. The corner of Zhan Hongying's mouth twitched. I hate it when people say that I'm cute. If it was someone else, I'd definitely smash their head. She chose to wear a mask because her face didn't have much deterrence. Otherwise, when fighting with others, wearing a baby face to say fierce words, it would be so unimposing. In the past, in the Ashura race, 9 out of 10 people who teased her because of this face had been beaten so badly that even their parents couldn't recognize them. Zhan Hongying's eyes were filled with sorrow when she thought of the Ashura race. Noticing the change in her emotions, Lan Yu fell silent for a moment before saying, "All right, get up. The master wants to see you." Zhan Hongying nodded and put on her clothes. In the towering heaven palace, Chu Kuangren was sorting out his loot from the battle in the demonic realm. He had gained quite a lot from this battle. Besides the various demonic stones and potions that were abundant in the demonic realm, there were also a large number of rare demonic beasts' corpses. These corpses were materials for him to study physiques, and there were a few ancient demonic beasts among them. Besides that, he also found a black scroll from a demonic emperor's yin and yang ring. It was the last scroll that he and the 7 Emotion sect were searching for regarding the Emotion Emperor technique. The scroll recorded a monarch art known as the soft sound spectrum. Just like the 8 celestial demonic chords, it was a musical emperor technique. The emotion it represented was infatuation. Chu Kuangren soon understood it. At this point, he had fully understood the 9 emperor techniques in the 9 scrolls. All that was left was to combine them and restore them to their original form. Speaking of which, Chu Kuangren was looking forward to it. After all, it was a cultivation technique that could very well surpass the emperor technique. He was very curious as to what kind of technique it was. The first one would not be profound. Profound was the ultimate interpretation of one's own Tao. It was a technique that belonged solely to oneself and no one else could learn it. It was not profound, but it was above the emperor technique. It could only be the legendary immortal technique. If it really is that immortal technique, then it won't be an easy task to merge the 9 great emperor techniques. Even with my current level of comprehension, I guess it'll take me quite some time, Chu Kuangren murmured. No matter what, he would need to go into closed-door meditation for at least 8 to 10 days. At that moment, the communication compass at his waist vibrated. It was Lan Yu. Lan Yu had sent him a message saying that Zhan Hongying had woken up. Let's meet her then. Chu Kuangren sighed. To be honest, he felt a little sorry for Zhan Hongying. For a promise, the Ashura tribe had suppressed the demonic realm's passageway for hundreds of thousands of years. Because of that, they suffered a series of disasters. Now their tribe had been wiped out, leaving only Zhan Hongying. Black Heaven sect inside the Longevity Hall. The masked Zhan Hongying bowed to Chu Kuangren when she saw him. Thank you, Brother Chu, for saving my life. Chu Kuangren shook his head. The Ashura tribe has sacrificed a lot for Firmament Star. Saving you was a piece of cake. Unfortunately, I was in closed-door meditation at that time and couldn't rescue the Ashura tribe in time. It's not Brother Chu's fault that my tribe met with disaster. I'll definitely avenge them. Zhan Hongying said with hatred in her eyes. The demonic realm has been resealed. I've killed 6 of the 7 demonic emperors. I believe that's enough to comfort the souls of the Ashura tribe's leaders. No, it's not enough. The real culprit has not been caught yet. The real culprit? Tell me about it. Chu Kuangren frowned. There was more to this than meets the eye. When I returned, the demonic realm's army had yet to arrive, but my people were already killed. I saw. Zhan Hongying recounted everything that she had seen and heard. Chu Kuangren fell into deep thought. The person who wiped out the Ashura tribe and broke my sword formation is someone else. And there's only one person who can do this. That person must be at least an emperor. Anyone who was not an emperor could not break his sword formation. Could it be an emperor from the demonic realm? Chu Kuangren's emperor's thoughts surged and he arrived at the Purgatory Forest. He entered the void and carefully observed the sword formation in the void. Then he performed the spatial conveyor technique. He retrieved one of the swords from the sword formation from hundreds of millions of kilometers away. He ran his finger across the sword's body and sensed a faint chilling chi. Chilling chi. Did the person who attacked the sword formation specialize in cold-based Daos? An emperor who specializes in cold-based Daos. There were indeed some emperors in the Firmament Star who specialized in cold-based Daos, but it was hard to determine if they were the culprits. I'll investigate this matter. I won't let the Ashura tribe's people die without knowing why, Chu Kuangren said solemnly as he sheathed his sword. Thank you, Brother Chu. What's your plan now? I'm homeless now. I don't know if the Black Heaven sect would mind having another mouth to feed. Of course, if it's within my capabilities, I'll help, Zhan Hongying said. Oh, you wish to join the Black Heaven sect? That's what I was thinking. Ha, the Black Heaven sect welcomes you with open arms. Chu Kuangren laughed. Zhan Hongying was a sky pride who was second only to him on the Soaring Dragon leaderboard. In this era of the Great Dharma emergence, she had a high chance of becoming an emperor. He had no reason to reject a future emperor from joining the Black Heaven sect. Chapter 674. The 2 words false deity echoed in the void as Chu Kuangren descended from the sky with his majestic emperor's poise. His body was shrouded in divine light, his black hair fluttered in the wind, and his white robe was as white as snow. Chu Kuangren's arrival was witnessed by all the cultivators in the city. They could not help but be shocked when they looked at him. How dare you slander a deity? A furious roar came from the temple. A figure flew out. That person was in a fiery red robe, holding a scepter in his hand, and his body exuded a powerful emperor's poise. Oh, an unfamiliar emperor's poise. Shall AI analyze it for me? Chu Kuangren smirked and called out to the omniscient spirit in his mind. Connecting to the universal consciousness. Wait a minute. Chu Kuangren suddenly interrupted the omniscient spirit in his mind. Don't give me a bunch of useless information like you did yesterday. Master, what do you want? Combine it with reality and give me the information I need. Aren't you just making things difficult for me? The omniscient spirit said helplessly. The information contained in the universal consciousness was so vast that even a rock could retrieve a lot of information. Not to mention a living emperor, an emperor who had lived for countless years. The amount of information contained within him was extremely huge. Can't do it? Chu Kuangren teased. I'm the omniscient spirit. Connecting to the universal consciousness. Connection successful. Beginning analysis of the target. In an instant, the information of the current emperor appeared in his mind. It really is an emperor from the myriad deity sect. Chu Kuangren glanced at the emperor in front of him and gently pressed his hand down. Without saying a word, the emperor was immediately enveloped by a terrifying force and was forcefully smashed into the ground. Senior Elder. Senior Elder, how could this be? Countless Fire God sect's followers were shocked. The Senior Elder had an extremely high status among the followers and could use divine power. Yet now he was knocked down by Chu Kuangren with a single slap. This had a huge impact on everyone's faith. Who the hell are you? The Senior Elder stared at Chu Kuangren in disbelief. No matter what, he was still an emperor. Yet, in front of Chu Kuangren, he did not even have the strength to fight back. I'm your deity, Chu Kuangren said. Nonsense. How dare you impersonate a god? In the temple, a middle-aged man wearing a gorgeous robe and a crown slowly walked out, holding a red crystal in his hand. This person's emperor's aura was even stronger than that of the great elder. This person had reached the 8th layer monarch realm. At this moment, at the other two ends of the city, there was a huge burst of energy. One of them was the surging power of water, and the other was the aura of frost that seemed to be able to freeze everything. A woman in a blue robe holding a scepter and a white-haired old man walked through the air. The emperor's aura they exuded was no weaker than the middle-aged man's. They were both in the 8th layer emperor realm. It's the sect masters. The sect master of the fire god sect, the sect master of the water god sect, the sect master of the ice god sect. That's great. With their arrival, they'll definitely be able to eradicate this heretic. The sect leaders are all God's emissaries. They can use God's power. They can definitely defeat this heretic. Everyone looked at the three sect masters with great anticipation. Meanwhile, the fire god religious leader looked at Chu Kuangren and sensed the domineering aura from his body. A serious look appeared in his eyes. Then, an extremely powerful aura gradually erupted from his body. Within the emperor's aura, there was a vast amount of divine aura. Countless followers could not help but kneel and worship him. Heretic, feel the power of the gods. The fire god religious leader said loudly. Suddenly, a tall figure shrouded in flames appeared behind him. It was the Flame Master God. O Frost God, grant me your power. The white-haired old man, who was the Ice God religious leader, had a sincere look on his face. A vast amount of divine power and emperor's aura intertwined on his body, forming a figure surrounded by snowflakes. That was the Frost Master God. The Water God religious leader also channeled his power and activated the Water God's power. In an instant, the power of the three overgods descended and turned into three huge divine figures. They stared at Chu Kuangren with murderous intent. The three overgods were still in the seal. Only their subordinate deities had escaped and were collecting faith energy for them to speed up the process of unsealing. Anyone who tried to stop this process was an enemy. It's a god. A god has descended. Our God's divine aura is vast, and he shall be the ruler of the firmament. Countless followers were extremely excited when they saw the divine figures. Some of them even knelt on the ground with a face full of devotion and fanaticism. Heretic slay. The three divine figures attacked at the same time. The power of water, fire, and ice erupted and swept towards Chu Kuangren. Each of the three powers had reached the 9th emperor realm. When they erupted together, it was as if they could destroy the heavens and earth. You're the ones who should be slain, false gods. Chu Kuangren said calmly. With a lift of his arm, the power of 10,000 Taoist avatars erupted. The three divine powers blasted over, but they were shattered by a single punch. Terrifying energy swept out, causing the entire city to shake. Below, the fire god religious palace collapsed one after another. Countless divine statues fell to the ground and were trampled by the panicking crowd. False deity, you dare to call yourself the flame deity. However, do you know what a true divine flame is? Chu Kuangren looked at the flame master deity's shadow and slowly raised his arm. Crimson phoenix flames gushed out. The phoenix flames were the essence of all flames. Even the flame master god's divine flame might not be comparable to it, let alone the flame master god that Chu Kuangren was facing. Although they were both at the 9th emperor realm, there was a difference in the quality of their emperor essence and emperor's Tao. In the blink of an eye, the phoenix flames engulfed the flame master god and burned away all of his divine powers. That scene shocked countless followers. The flame master god was burned to death. For the countless followers of the flame master god, this was simply way too impactful. Even the master of the fire god cult was dumbfounded. Burning the flame master god to death? Was there anything more unbelievable than that in this world? This is the true divine flame. Chu Kuangren said calmly with his hands behind his back. Crimson phoenix flames surrounded his body, and behind him were 10,000 Taoist avatars. Every move he made was filled with an unshakable heavenly might. False gods, it's your turn. Chu Kuangren looked at the frost master god and the water god's shadow. As he lifted his arm, mysterious heavenly punishment Taoist patterns flowed on his palm. The power of heavenly punishment. Impossible. You're a heavenly executioner. The frost master god and the water god's pupils dilated. The heavenly executioner was the sworn enemy of all the gods. Wrong, this is heavenly punishment, Chu Kuangren said calmly. Then 2 giant azure runes appeared above the frost master god and the water god. It was an emperor-grade thunder talisman. With the help of the heavenly punishment Taoist patterns, the power of the thunder talisman skyrocketed, and its destructive power against the gods was unimaginable. Amidst the thunderous rumble, the 2 deity shadows were shattered, and the 2 sect leaders were blasted away by the force. Chu Kuangren stood in the air with his sleeves fluttering in the wind. He shouted, I am true God Black, the only true God in this world. When I descend, all false gods shall perish. Chapter 675. Inside the towering heaven palace. Chu Kuangren was meditating on the immortal techniques with his eyes closed. After 10 days, he had finally combined the 9 great emperor techniques into a brand new cultivation technique. The fluctuations of this new cultivation technique spread outwards the moment it was formed, resonating with the heavenly Tao. Countless cultivators and mortals in the entire firmament star were affected by the fluctuations of this cultivation technique. They lost control of their emotions and fell into chaos. When Chu Kuangren noticed this, he immediately stopped the cultivation technique and exclaimed, What a powerful Taoist fluctuation! It's above Taoist rhymes and Taoist patterns. Is this the legendary immortal Tao? The immortal technique, hidden immortal Tao. After 10 days of research, he had restored the true nature of this cultivation technique. However, he still needed more practice to fully master it. After all, it was an immortal technique. With Chu Kuangren's current cultivation realm, he was still far from being able to fully unleash the power of this immortal technique. However, it was undeniable that he had undoubtedly grasped another extremely powerful trump card after grasping this immortal technique. The 7 emotions illusory melody. This immortal technique is truly extraordinary. Chu Kuangren murmured. The 7 emotions illusory melody was the name of this immortal technique. It was a technique that specialized in attacking one's mind. It could affect a cultivator's emotions and cause them to fall into an illusion that they could not escape from. Cultivators who did not have a strong Taoist core or cultivation base would be like fish on a chopping board in front of this immortal technique, waiting to be slaughtered. When he walked out of the towering heaven palace, Lan Yu and the others were waiting for him. When they saw Chu Kuangren coming out, their eyes were filled with resentment. His emperor's thoughts swept across and noticed that the Black Heaven sect disciples were not in a good mood. Some of their eyes were bloodshot as if they had just cried. Chu Kuangren pondered and immediately understood what had happened. Well, during my closed-door meditation I accidentally lost control of my emotions. I'm sorry. Chu Kuangren laughed awkwardly. Sect leader, what did you do to cause the Black Heaven sect disciples to lose control of their emotions? This is too strange. Murong Xian asked curiously. It's nothing. I just mastered an immortal technique. Chu Kuangren chuckled. Oh, I see. Murong Xian came to a sudden realization. His face stiffened as he stared at Chu Kuangren. He gulped and said, Sect leader, what did you just say? Say it again? It's nothing. I just grasped an immortal technique. Immortal magic. Murong Xian let out a strange cry. His voice was raised by a few dozen degrees. Lan Yu, Leng Ningyu and the rest were stunned. An immortal spell. There were actually immortal spells in this world. All along, celestials had only existed in legends. As for the so-called celestial techniques, they were even more illusory. No one had ever seen them before. Now, Chu Kuangren said that he had mastered an immortal technique. How could anyone believe this? Sect leader, are you serious? Do I look like I'm joking? Chu Kuangren blinked and said, No, I'm just curious. Why don't you experience it yourself? A playful smile suddenly appeared on Chu Kuangren's face. He pointed his finger at Murong Xian and a strange Taoist fluctuation appeared. There was no earth-shattering explosion or collision sound. There was a faint sound of music in the air. It was the sound of the Tao. The Tao music sounded like it was crying and lamenting. Murong Xian was affected by it. His eyes gradually turned red as he knelt on the ground and said sadly, If there's an afterlife, I'll never be human again. I've been a failure in my life. Sob sob. A dignified emperor was actually crying like a little girl. Lan Yu, Leng Ningyu and the others widened their eyes. What happened? Master, what did you do? Lan Yu asked curiously. Nothing much. I just amplified his feelings of inferiority. Consider it a small application of this immortal technique. Chu Kuangren smiled. Emotions? Could it be that scroll? Leng Ningyu asked as if she had thought of something. Chu Kuangren nodded. Yes. Then he took out the 9th scroll and said, This is the last scroll. Take it as a gift from me to the 7 Emotions sect. As for whether you can combine it into an immortal technique, it's all up to you. The immortal technique was extremely mysterious. Although Chu Kuangren had understood it, he did not have the ability to pass it down to others. An immortal technique could only be understood, not taught. If the 7 Emotions sect wanted to learn this immortal technique, they would have to rely on themselves. However, from Chu Kuangren's point of view, the possibility of the 7 Emotions sect learning this immortal technique was almost zero. After all, not everyone had his level of comprehension. Of course, after tens of thousands of years of deduction, it was not impossible to grasp it. There was still hope. It took him 10 days. Thank you, Brother Chu. Leng Ningyu took the scroll and planned to send it back to the 7 Emotions sect after some time. How long is that sect leader going to cry? Lan Yu pointed at Murong Xian, who was still half kneeling on the ground. He was exuding a dejected aura and looked like he had lost all hope in life. Yes, in about 4 hours. Chu Kuangren chuckled. Chu Kuangren did not use his full strength in that technique. Otherwise, Murong Xian would have killed himself on the spot. Chu Kuangren's eyes lit up as he thought of something. If I can control the strength of this illusory 7 Emotions song, I might be able to use it to train the disciples' Taoist core. Chu Kuangren murmured. Lan Yu could not help but mourn for the disciples when she heard his words. Far away in the ocean. Inside the Qilin clan palace, Dark North Xian was cultivating when he suddenly felt a tightness in his chest and spat out a mouthful of blood. D*Emenit. D*Emenit. With a knot in my heart, I can't calm down and cultivate at all. Dark North Xian could not help but recall the scene of him being humiliated by Chu Kuangren in the Purgatory Forest. As an emperor of the Qilin clan, he was questioned by Chu Kuangren and suppressed to the point that he could not do anything about it. Every time he thought of that, he felt like a ball of fire was burning in his heart, making him restless and about to explode. You took the emperor weapon of my Qilin clan emperor, injured me in the Snow Dragon Mountain, and humiliated me in front of the emperors in the Purgatory Forest. Chu Kuangren, you deserve to die. But now he's a heavenly executioner. What can I do? The heavenly executioner was one of the highest-ranking people in the human race. Even a Taoist master would not dare to say that he was more powerful than the heavenly executioner. That status alone was already unshakable. TSK, do you want revenge? Do you want power? A deep voice suddenly came to Dark North Xian's ears. Who's there? Dark North Xian's expression changed. However, when he looked around, he did not see anyone. Who I am isn't important. What's important is that I can avenge you and give you power to fight against Chu Kuangren. That deep voice carried a bewitching intent. Dark North Xian was on guard. Why don't you want revenge anymore? Do you want to be suppressed by Chu Kuangren forever? You're an emperor of the Qilin clan. You not only represent yourself, but also the pride and glory of the Qilin clan. Think about it carefully. Once you've thought it through, come to the underwater valley. Dark North Xian's expression changed. The underwater valley, However, that voice had already disappeared, leaving Dark North Xian alone on the spot with an uncertain expression. Chapter 676. In a dark, sunless underwater valley. Today the emperor of the Qilin clan, Dark North Xuanzi, arrived. Just as he stepped into this place, the strange voice sounded again. Dark North Xuanzi, you're finally here. What do you want me to do? Dark North Xuanzi asked with a dark expression. He felt that he must be crazy to do such a thing. Otherwise, why would he be here? It's simple. Break the stone tablet that's suppressing us. As long as you release us, no one will ever look down on the Qilin clan again. No one will be able to trample on your dignity. You will become a god. The voice was bewitching. A god? Dark North Xuanzi's eyes lit up. Right, I have a godhood in my hands. As long as you release us, not only will I avenge you, I'll even bestow this godhood to you. As long as you refine this godhood, you'll be the new sea god. The power of the ocean will belong to you. Dark North Xuanzi was tempted. He looked into the depths of the underwater valley, where there was a faint light. The light was emitted by a stone tablet. The stone tablet was 9 zhang tall and covered in countless Dao patterns. Dark North Xuanzi took a deep breath and flew towards the stone tablet. Then he struck the stone tablet with his palm. However, the stone tablet didn't budge under the impact of the emperor's aura. This stone tablet was set up by the ancient emperors to suppress the gods of the ocean. It's very difficult for me to break it with my current strength. Dark North Xuanzi frowned. If the seal of the gods could be broken so easily, the gods wouldn't have been suppressed for so many years. He tried a few more times but to no avail. It seems like you're too weak. The voice sounded disappointed. Then it continued, head to the ocean sky ruins. That's where we used to live. There's a divine weapon there. Go and get it, then break the seal. Then, a blue light flew out from the valley and entered Dark North Xuanzi's body. This divine power can ensure that you can come and go as you please in the ocean sky ruins. But remember, after you reach our palace, take the divine weapon and leave. Don't stay for too long and don't destroy the palace. We have set up a divine power restriction there that will be activated if it's destroyed. The ocean sky ruins? I got it. Dark North Xianzi nodded. On the other side in the Black Heaven sect. Ever since Chu Kuangren had mastered the 7 emotions illusory melody, he had used this immortal technique to create a hidden illusory secret realm as a place for his disciples to train their hearts. He forced every disciple to train their hearts there. Now, in front of the illusory secret realm. One by one the disciples lined up, waiting to enter. Every single disciple who went in had a complicated expression on their faces when they came out. Some had flushed faces, some were terrified, and some were so ashamed that they wanted to kill themselves. Everyone was different. However, when he looked at the disciples who had yet to enter, his heart trembled with fear. He had no idea what these people had experienced inside. What the hell did the sect leader come up with? A disciple looked at the cave-like illusory hidden realm in front of him and couldn't help but swallow his saliva as he said nervously. There were also some disciples who wanted to sneak away, but they were discovered by Nangong Huang, Shang Qingxue, and a few other Taoists who were supervising them. Thus, they quietly increased the time they had to stay in the illusory secret realm. Inside a palace. Chu Kuangren, Elder Rian, and a few other Taoists were gathered together. In front of them was a huge bronze mirror. The bronze mirror could show the things that these disciples had encountered in the illusory secret realm, as well as the state of their Taoist core. At that moment, the bronze mirror showed a disciple who was immersed in the illusion of a beautiful woman, unable to extricate himself. He was surrounded by beauties and it was a joyful sight. However, those beauties turned into skeletons and evil spirits in the blink of an eye, demanding his life. That disciple was so scared that he screamed. Taoist core low grade. Remember this disciple. Let him come to the illusory secret realm more often in the future. Chu Kuangren curled his lips and said, "All right." Elder Rian took the notebook and wrote it down. According to the disciples' performance in the illusory secret realm, they divided their Taoist core into low, medium, high, and superior grades. Now, less than a tenth of them could achieve a high-grade Taoist core. As for the superior grade, there were even fewer of them. Only Lan Yu, Nangong Huang, and a few others could achieve that. Chu Kuangren planned to make these disciples' Taoist core reach a high grade no matter what. It did not matter if their talents were poor, but their Taoist core must be trained. Later on in cultivation, one's Taoist core would often play a decisive role. Sect leader, I like you. The illusory secret realm underwent another round of realm changes. This time it was a female disciple. She was standing under a peach tree and Chu Kuangren was standing opposite her. He smiled at her and cupped her face in his hands. What a coincidence, me too, inside the palace. Low-grade Taoist core and you even have bad intentions towards the sect leader. Double the training, Chu Kuangren said. Elder Rian looked helpless. At the side, the elders also looked at each other in dismay. How many has it been now? I think it's the 7th. I wonder how many there will be. These female disciples all want to be with the sect leader. I'm so envious. Envious my asterisk, you shameless old man. The illusory secret realm could create all kinds of illusions. It could be said to be a cultivator's greatest fear or desire. What a coincidence. Chu Kuangren was the dream lover of countless female cultivators in the Black Heaven sect. Hence, it was normal for such illusions to appear. Just as Chu Kuangren was testing everyone with the illusory secret realm, an extremely powerful energy fluctuation suddenly erupted from the bottom of the sea. This aura. A hint of surprise appeared in Chu Kuangren's eyes. Murong Xian Lanyu, stay here in the Black Heaven sect. I'll go take a look. Chu Kuangren sent a voice transmission to the 2 new emperors of the Black Heaven sect. Then his figure disappeared on the spot. He cast the spatial conveyor technique and arrived at the surface of the sea. A white light was blossoming in the sea, and it faintly revealed a strange aura. That aura was extremely familiar to Chu Kuangren. That was divine power. Divine power aura. What's going on? Chu Kuangren said in surprise. Then, the white light on the surface of the sea became brighter and brighter, and a magnificent palace emerged from the sea. White jade was used as the bricks, coral was used as the decorations, and countless crystals were embedded in every corner of the palace with countless Taoist patterns flowing on them. Just this palace alone was already very valuable to an emperor, and those gemstones all contained rich spiritual qi. Besides that, the palace also contained a faint divine power aura as if a certain deity had once lived here. Could this be the godly secret realm that Heavenly Honorable Su mentioned? Chu Kuangren murmured while stroking his chin. Yes, this should be one of the godly secret realms. A voice came from the sky. It was Heavenly Honorable Su. Besides her, there were a few other emperors beside her. Those emperors stared at the palace that had suddenly appeared before them with burning eyes. That's the blood coral tree. Rumor has it that this item can help an emperor's cultivation level to break through quickly. It's been extinct since ancient times, but I can't believe it's here. What a surprise. And those gemstones, many of them are worth as much as an emperor-grade spiritual source. Oh my God, there are thousands of them here. To be able to live in a palace like this and have treasures of this scale, the previous owner of this palace must have been at least a higher celestial. These deities have really looted a lot of treasures. Chapter 677. Deep Under the Sea. Dark North Xian looked at the floating palace with reluctance in his eyes. So many treasures. You've lucked out. Then he looked at the black axe in his hand and smirked. But now that I've gotten my hands on the divine weapon, I can help those deities break the seal and obtain that godhead. He was already looking forward to it. As long as he could obtain that godhead and refine it, he would become the new Neptune and control the boundless power of the ocean. When that time came, would he still have to worry about not being able to defeat Chu Kuangren? With that thought in mind, he left the oceanic ruins. When the divine palace appeared, the emperors of Firmament Star had already sensed it and rushed towards the divine palace. Everyone wanted a piece of the pie. Before long, dozens of emperors were already on the surface of the sea. On a certain mountain peak. The mysterious person in the black cloak could not help but laugh out loud when he saw that. We've really gotten lucky this time. Initially, we wanted to use the demonic tribe to distract these emperors, but Chu Kuangren stopped us from doing so. Now we have the divine palace to deal with. Now that the sealed areas are unguarded, it's the best time to break the seal. Everyone, let's get ready. As soon as she finished speaking, black figures appeared from the void behind her and dashed in all directions. These people were all cultivators from the myriad deity sect. They only had one goal: to free the deities and return Firmament Star to the ancient era of deities. The divine palace floated steadily on the surface of the sea, but it was not affected by the waves. Instead, it emanated a majestic divine glow. Let's go in. Some emperors eagerly rushed into the divine palace. Upon entering the divine palace, that emperor eagerly dug out a gemstone that he had his eyes on from the wall. Just as he took the gemstone away, the entire divine palace suddenly trembled. Then countless streams of water gathered from all directions and turned into water soldiers that emanated a cold, murderous aura. Those who invade the divine palace shall be killed. The water soldiers stared at that emperor and said coldly. Instantly, hundreds of soldiers rushed out. Each of them had the combat strength of an Emperor Realm expert. The top ones even had Emperor Realm combat strength. They were really strong. Oh no, this is a restriction set by the deities. Celestial Venerable Su's expression changed slightly. She raised her hand and struck out with her palm. Tao patterns interweaved and spread out like countless chains, strangling all the water soldiers to death. Only then did he manage to save that emperor's life. Many thanks, Empyrean. The emperor thanked Empyrean Su with lingering fear in his heart. It's still too early to thank me. Celestial Venerable Su looked around with a grave expression. She saw the endless power of water rushing towards the divine palace. The power of the water condensed into soldiers in the void. In the blink of an eye, they were surrounded by thousands of soldiers. It's just a restriction set by a god, yet it's so powerful? What kind of god is this? Some emperors couldn't help but gulp. Celestial Venerable Su's expression was rather grave as she said, "This is at least a higher god, and his strength isn't bad among higher gods." Gods were divided into lower gods, middle gods, upper gods, and main gods. Even the most ordinary lower deity had strength comparable to a heavenly venerable. Sovereigns were comparable to Tao lords. I'll suppress the restrictions in this palace, Celestial Venerable Su said. She took a step forward and countless Taoist patterns spread from her body. An extremely overbearing emperor's qi spread out with her as the center. The emperor's qi and Taoist patterns intertwined and formed a huge domain. The howling sea breeze stopped, the rolling waves stopped, and the clouds in the sky stopped moving. In fact, they seemed to have become even bluer. At that moment, everyone felt as if they had been separated from the original world they were in and had fallen into another unfamiliar world. Even their own Taoist insights felt like they were being suppressed. Chu Kuangren was a little familiar with this feeling. It was similar when he was in the demonic realm domain. However, that was cast by the 7 great demonic emperors using 7 iron tokens that contained divine power, and it was done by Celestial Venerable Su alone. Is this the Heavenly Venerable's small realm? Chu Kuangren murmured. The biggest difference between a Heavenly Venerable and an ordinary emperor was that a Heavenly Venerable's understanding of Taoism had been traced back to the source and came into contact with the essence of the world. From there, they would be able to master the realm energy. The small realm was a technique that only a Heavenly Venerable could master. Once the small realm appeared, the soldiers that were formed by water were shrouded by an invisible force and shattered one after another. I've used the small realm to suppress the divine palace's seals here. However, I need to focus on maintaining the small realm's operation now. You guys can go in and have a look first, Celestial Venerable Su said to the crowd. All right. The emperor's figures flashed and dashed into the divine palace. Chu Kuangren nodded at Celestial Venerable Su and then walked into the divine palace. Once he entered, the divine power's aura became more obvious. It enveloped almost every corner of the palace. This meant that the deity that lived here was very powerful. Even after so many years, its divine power's aura had not completely dissipated. His treasure locating skill was activated. The fluctuations of countless treasures spread outwards. Chu Kuangren searched through them one by one and kept those treasures into his yin and yang ring. Celestial Venerable Su, who was observing everything with her emperor's thought from afar, was a little surprised. Brother Chu, it seems like you have some kind of method to sense treasures? However, since there were so many divine abilities in this world, she did not really care. Inside the divine palace, Chu Kuangren came to a side palace. His treasure locating skill reacted very strongly here. It was obvious that there were great treasures hidden here. However, the palace's door was tightly shut. Chu Kuangren's palm attack only made the door shake a little. 4 Divine Primordial Sword. Chu Kuangren activated his supreme divine ability. The 4 Divine Primordial Sword's power converged into a sword and slashed at the palace's door. With a loud explosion, countless Taoist patterns appeared on the door. Divine power's aura emanated from it. Oh, divine power is it? Chu Kuangren activated his divine ability again. This time, he added the power of the heavenly punishment Taoist pattern, and the Taoist patterns on the door cracked. With a loud bang, the door was blasted open. Sure enough, the heavenly punishment Taoist pattern is useful. Chu Kuangren chuckled. He then walked in. What greeted his eyes was a large pile of rare treasures. but the most eye-catching one was a white crystal that was as tall as a person. This crystal was surging with incomparably surging energy fluctuations, which were completely different from the energy fluctuations of a spirit origin. Although it was also a type of spiritual power, it was not as easily absorbed by cultivators as spiritual sources. Moreover, it had a similar aura to divine power. However, it made no difference to Chu Kuangren. As long as it was a foreign energy between heaven and earth, be it spiritual power or anything else, his universal cauldron physique could absorb it. He flicked his sleeves and kept all the treasures. About an hour later, Chu Kuangren and the others had looted most of the treasures in the divine palace. Even the gemstones that were embedded in the walls were dug out one by one. "We've gained quite a lot this time," one of the emperors said excitedly. "Alright, I'm going to keep the mini-world now. You guys should leave the divine palace first," Heavenly Honorable Su said. Everyone left the divine palace, and Heavenly Honorable Su kept the mini-world. Just when everyone was about to leave, surges of divine power fluctuations suddenly came from several places in the firmament star. Chapter 678. Several prefectures in firmament star began to emit waves of divine power. Heavenly Honorable Su's expression changed. "A deity has broken the seal. *M*, a deity seal can't be broken by ordinary means. It's the myriad deity sect." Her figure turned into a stream of light and flew into the distance. Chu Kuangren followed suit. However, when they arrived at one of the sealed grounds, all they saw was a huge crater in the ground. There was no sign of a deity. The same went for the other sealed grounds. The lesser flame deity, lesser water deity, lesser frost deity, and a lesser thunder deity have all broken their seals. The rest of the sealed grounds have more or less signs of being attacked. Fortunately, the seals in those places are more stable and have not been broken. We'll just have to get someone to repair them. Now, let's think about how to deal with the 4 deities that have been broken. 3 are lesser deities and 1 is an intermediate deity. Looks like we'll have to ask for reinforcements from the Heavenly Honorable Sect. The Emperor's thoughts circulated and converged together to communicate. Even the most ordinary deity had the combat strength of a Heavenly Honorable, which was not something an ordinary Emperor realm emperor could handle. Currently, Heavenly Honorable Su was the only Heavenly Honorable in Firmament Star. Although she could fight against the deities, she could not split herself into 2. "I'll personally report to the Heavenly Honorable Sect about the deities breaking their seals. Heavenly Honorables, it's time for you to come down and do something," Heavenly Honorable Su said. Then, Heavenly Honorable Su gathered the emperors who were heading to the Divine Palace and asked them to hand over the items they had obtained in the Divine Palace. "You may keep some of these items, but I'll take the rest and transport them to the front lines," Heavenly Honorable Su said. The emperors at the front lines shouldered the heavy burden of fighting against the Blood Tribe, so they must not fall behind in terms of resources. The Heavenly Honorable Sect was not only responsible for guarding the deity seals, but also to collect resources and transport them to the front lines. The God's secret realm was their main target. The deities had collected too many treasures a long time ago. Looking at the treasures on the ground, some of the emperors were reluctant to part with them. Chu Kuangren, on the other hand, did not think much of it. The emperors at the front lines would not be able to retrieve these treasures without the Heavenly Honorable Realm's suppression. Besides, it was reasonable for the emperors at the front lines to need resources. There was no reason not to let them fight at the front lines without resources, right? "I want this. Then this blood coral belongs to me. I want this gem." All the emperors chose the items that caught their fancy. However, Chu Kuangren glanced at the white gemstone that he had brought with him. It was as tall as an average human. Among all the treasures, this gemstone had the strongest energy fluctuations, yet no one was willing to pick it. He was rather puzzled. However, since they didn't want it, he would take it. Brother Chu, you actually chose this god source?" Heavenly Honorable Su looked at Chu Kuangren in shock and said, "This divine source is an energy crystal that only deities can absorb. Although it contains a huge amount of energy, it's very difficult for humans to absorb it." "No wonder no one chose it," Chu Kuangren muttered. However, he did not want to give up. The source of God was not very useful to others, but to him, it was a precious treasure. With this item, his cultivation would definitely increase by a large margin. Seeing that Chu Kuangren was determined to choose this item, Heavenly Honorable Su no longer tried to dissuade him. Instead, she allowed him to choose some other treasures. It was obvious that she was giving him special treatment because of his identity as a heavenly executioner. Everyone else knew this, but they did not say it out loud. In the deep sea, Dark North Sea Xianxie took the divine weapon and once again went to the underwater valley. Looking at the white stone tablet in front of him, he raised the black axe in his hand high, channeled all his strength and slashed it. With a bang, the white stone tablet shattered. Following that, the entire underwater valley shook violently. Haha, the seal has finally been broken. How many years has it been? We've finally regained our freedom. The entire ocean was boiling. The underwater valley was suddenly torn apart by an extremely powerful force, and a huge underwater whirlpool appeared in its depths. Two tall figures walked out of the whirlpool. One of them had a crocodile head and was wearing armor, while the other was an extremely huge, terrifying python that was tens of thousands of feet long. These two were the higher deities that were sealed in the depths of the ocean. Crocodile God, Sea Serpent God. The crocodile god looked at Dark North Sea Xianxie, and a ray of light flashed in his blood-red eyes. Then he gently raised his hand. The other party's black axe instantly trembled and flew toward him, and he held it in his hand. With the divine weapon in hand, the crocodile god's aura became even more powerful. Dark North Xianxie swallowed his saliva. He felt as tiny as an ant in front of this god. Qilin clan, you've done well. This is the godhead that we promised you. Refine it well. The crocodile god took out a rhombus blue crystal. It contained an enormous amount of energy and all kinds of mysterious Tao patterns. With just a glance, Dark North Sea Xianxie was deeply attracted. He took the godhead with an excited expression. However, he did not realize that there was an obscure look in the crocodile god's eyes. Thank you, both of you. May I know what the two of you want to do now? Dark North Sea Xianxie asked. We'll stay in the Qilin clan for a while and understand the current situation in the firmament world. After all, we've just been revived, and it's not suitable for us to be too ostentatious. It would be bad if we attract the Heavenly Executioner. At the mention of the Heavenly Executioner, a hint of fear flashed in the crocodile god's eyes. Beside him, the sea serpent god sneered. The Heavenly Executioner? During that battle, we were sealed and they were heavily injured. We don't even know how many of them are still alive. What's there to be afraid of? Don't be reckless, the crocodile god said calmly. Although he had a rough appearance, he was extremely cautious in his actions. Far away from the firmament star, 9 orbs of light floated in the cold universe. There seemed to be figures floating in the light orbs. Those gods have awakened. One of the orbs of light said calmly. Yes, we haven't fully recovered from our injuries. Those lower and middle gods are still manageable, and upper gods can also contend with them. However, if we encounter a Lord God, I'm afraid we won't be able to handle them. How troublesome. Can we send someone else to deal with them? No, the situation in the extraterrestrial battlefield is not optimistic. The blood breeds are moving more and more frequently. We can't divide our forces because of the gods. Gods, let us deal with them. That's right, this is our mission. My injuries are the lightest. After so many years of recuperation, I'm almost fully recovered. Let me take charge of the firmament star for now. One of the orbs of light said. Yes, that's a good idea. Also, I heard that a young emperor has recently appeared in the firmament star who has mastered the power of heavenly punishment. I'm very concerned about this. Old Seventh, you should go and take a look. All right. Old Seventh responded. His orb of light turned into a stream of light and flew toward the firmament star from the cold, dark universe. In the extraterrestrial battlefield, some of the powerful beings had also noticed it. The Heavenly Executioner is making a move. Let's leave the gods to them. We can't afford to let our guard down in the extraterrestrial battlefield. The gods in the firmament star are starting to stir up trouble. Sigh, what a troubled time. Chapter 679. In the Black Heaven Sect, inside the towering Heaven Palace. Chu Kuangren was in a closed-door meditation to refine the source of God. After going through so many changes, he felt a sense of urgency. His enemies were getting stronger and stronger. In the past, most of his opponents were sky prides who were below the Emperor realm. But now, he was up against the deities from a long time ago. He needed to become stronger quickly. 10 days later, Chu Kuangren had completely absorbed and refined the source of God. His cultivation level had also improved from the 4th level of the Emperor realm to the 9th level of the Emperor realm. That was a total of 5 levels of improvement. After all, how many years had it been since he ascended to the Emperor realm? Such a speed of improvement would scare anyone to death. This source of God contains too much energy. If I absorb a few more pieces, won't I be able to ascend to the heavenly honorable realm? Chu Kuangren said in amazement. This source of God was something that only the deities could absorb. However, Chu Kuangren was an anomaly. The appearance of the deities is a crisis, but it's also an opportunity for me. Putting aside the other treasures in the mysterious realms of the gods, just this source of God alone is something that others can't use. This is a huge advantage. Chu Kuangren murmured. After ascending to the 9th level of the Emperor realm, Chu Kuangren did not come out immediately. Instead, he continued to study the power of the Heavenly Punishment Taoist pattern. The Heavenly Punishment Taoist pattern was a way to restrain the deities, and it was also one of his most important techniques in the future. Another 10 days later. On this day, as usual, Chu Kuangren was studying the Heavenly Punishment Taoist pattern. However, he suddenly felt the Taoist pattern on his palm vibrate. It was as if it was reacting with something. What's going on? Chu Kuangren was surprised. Then he received a message from Elder Rian. Sect leader, there's a visitor. Got it? Inside the longevity hall, there was a man in a white robe with a faint layer of spiritual light covering his face. His aura was vague and unpredictable, as if he could disappear at any time. However, when Chu Kuangren arrived, he felt that the person standing in front of him was exceptionally clear. Not only that, but the strange reaction of the Heavenly Punishment Taoist pattern on his body became even stronger. Vaguely, Chu Kuangren had a guess. Heavenly Executioner? Yes. The white-robed man, who was the Heavenly Executioner who was revered by countless people, stared at Chu Kuangren. His face was covered in spiritual light, and it was hard to tell what his expression was, but Chu Kuangren could sense the curiosity in his eyes. I heard that you have a Heaven Punishment Tao pattern. I want to see it. The Heavenly Executioner didn't beat around the bush and directly stated his intentions. Chu Kuangren raised his hand and a Taoist pattern appeared on his palm. When the Heavenly Executioner saw that Taoist pattern, his body trembled slightly. For some reason, Chu Kuangren felt that the Heavenly Executioner before him was not quite right. It was as if he was extremely shocked. Then, the Heaven Executioner slowly raised his hand, and a Heavenly Punishment rune appeared on his palm. However, Chu Kuangren noticed that his opponent's Heavenly Punishment Taoist pattern was slightly different from his own Taoist pattern. His opponent's Taoist pattern looked more like a type of rune. The fusion of the Heaven Punishment Tao pattern and the rune? You can also do this. Chu Kuangren's eyes lit up. During this period of time, he had been studying the Heaven Punishment Tao pattern, and this Heaven Executioner's Tao pattern had given him some inspiration. How is this possible? How is this possible? It's not a Heavenly Punishment Talisman Taoist pattern but the real deal. It's a genuine Heavenly Punishment Taoist pattern, the original Heavenly Punishment energy. The Heavenly Executioner seemed to be very shocked. He looked at Chu Kuangren and said with a trembling voice, "How did you get this Taoist pattern?" Chu Kuangren then briefly explained about the Heavenly Punishment Seal. I see, my king has never told us about this. The Heavenly Executioner murmured. Then he looked at Chu Kuangren with a complicated gaze. He did not know if it was an illusion, but the person before him was slowly overlapping with the figure that he admired the most in his heart. Suddenly, a ridiculous thought popped up in his mind. Could it be that my king has come back to life? No, that's impossible. How could something like this happen? The Heavenly Executioner shook his head and discarded the thought from his mind. He said to Chu Kuangren, I'm now overseeing the heavens, suppressing the power of the deities. You possess the Heavenly Punishment Taoist pattern, and it's the original Heavenly Punishment energy. If you need any help, feel free to look for me. Thank you very much. Chu Kuangren nodded solemnly. That was the Heavenly Executioner's promise. In other words, with the Heavenly Executioner's promise, even the Taoists would not dare to do anything to Chu Kuangren. After that, Chu Kuangren chatted with the Heavenly Executioner for a while. He learned that the Heavenly Executioner before him was called Qi Xing, and there was more than one Heavenly Executioner. Aside from Qi Xing, the other Heavenly Executioners were still recuperating because they were severely injured in the ancient battle against the deities. The original Heavenly Punishment energy, huh? I can't believe there's another person besides my king who wields such power in this endless river of time. Who is Chu Kuangren? After leaving the Black Heaven sect, Qi Xing looked at the sky and murmured. Then he seemed to have thought of something. Divine Predictor, go and ask him about Chu Kuangren's background. You might find something useful. The Divine Predictor was one of the most mysterious beings in the firmament star. However, it was not difficult for the Heavenly Executioner to find this person. In fact, they had known each other for a long time. The Divine Predictor was very surprised to see Qi Xing, Oh, isn't this Lord Qixing? I can't believe you're here in the firmament star. I'm relieved that you're here. I'm here today to ask you about Chu Kuangren. Qixing asked directly. The divine predictor seemed to have expected his visit, so he was not surprised. He shook his head and said, "If you're asking about someone else, even a Taoist master, I can talk to you. But I can't do anything about this person." What do you mean? This person doesn't exist in the past, future, or even the present. His fate seems to have transcended the river of fate and is unpredictable. Upon hearing that, Qixing frowned. How is that possible? He's an anomaly. Did you know that this person wields the heavenly punishment energy? Oh, could he be a backup plan left behind by the human king? The divine predictor was a little surprised. He had some understanding of the heavenly punishment energy. No, he wields the original heavenly punishment energy. I've only seen that kind of power from the king. Qixing said solemnly. Hearing this, Tianjizi took a deep breath as his expression turned extremely solemn. Is what you said absolutely true? Do you think I'd joke with you about something like this? The divine predictor took out a bronze mirror and cast a technique into it. Then, countless runes flashed across its surface. What are you doing? This bronze mirror is the treasure of the Phantom Valley's physiognomy lineage. It records the fate of countless great figures throughout the ages. I got it. What do you mean? I've looked up the records of the human king's fate, and there's only one sentence. Does not exist in the past or present, transcends fate. This description is almost the same as Chu Kuangren's. Almost the same fate, the same heavenly punishment energy, and the feeling he gives me. Could he really be? Qixing was a little lost. Chapter 685. When I descend, all false deities shall perish. Chu Kuangren stood in the air, his body shrouded in divine radiance. With him as the epicenter, his overbearing aura spread out wave after wave. He had easily destroyed the three divine silhouettes. His terrifying aura, which was even more powerful than that of a true deity, shocked countless people. Ignorant mortals, I am the true God. Only those who believe in me will not fall into the cycle of reincarnation. Chu Kuangren swept his gaze across the crowd. He gently raised his hand and cast the spring breeze healing technique. The surrounding spiritual chi gathered and turned into a majestic rain that enveloped the entire area. Countless living beings bathed in the rain could feel every cell in their bodies cheering in joy. Those who were injured or suffering from hidden injuries or illnesses were all completely healed. Flowers and trees flourished as well. All spirits were in high spirits. This was a carnival of life. To the crowd, the scene before them was like a miracle. God, this is the true God. Some people could not help but kneel on the ground and worship the true God when they saw such a miracle. So the flame deities and the others were only false deities. This is the real God. True God, please forgive our foolishness. Yeah, how could the real flame deity be burned to death by fire? They must be false deities. This is the real God. The true God descends to bless all living beings. This is the best evidence. True God Black Heaven, please accept our worship. The school of White Lotus, no, the Black Heaven sect's disciples took the opportunity to encourage the crowd and praise the true God. Everyone else followed suit and knelt on the ground. True God Black Heaven, true God Black Heaven, everyone was chanting the true God Black Heaven's name. Get up, all of you. What true God Black Heaven? He's just a liar. Don't be fooled by him. The Flame God sect's leader and the others panicked and yelled. Chu Kuangren glanced at them and said, "If you kneel and repent for slandering a true God, I might forgive you. Liar, don't you dare make us surrender. When the other deities break the seal, your true identity as a false god will be revealed." The Flame God sect's leader said ferociously. Stubborn. As Chu Kuangren lifted his arm, the Dharma avatar behind him reached out and grabbed the Flame God sect's leader and the Water God sect's leader. The power of the Dharma form exploded. With a bang, 2 clouds of blood mist bloomed. 2 sect masters had fallen. Upon seeing this, the remaining leader of the Snow sect tried to escape in a flash, but he was blasted into pieces by a 4 symbols primordial soul sword on the spot. If you heretics continue to believe in false gods, you will fall into an endless hell. As Chu Kuangren lifted his arm, an invisible Taoist fluctuation spread and enveloped the members of the 3 sections. It was the celestial art, illusory 7 emotions song. The cult members immediately knelt on the ground and wailed. As they cried, they recounted the mistakes they had committed. It's our fault. We shouldn't have poisoned the villagers' well water, then saved them and made them believe in the fire god. Boo-hoo, those bandits were actually sent by us. This is all our fault, several members of the church wept. Seeing this, the crowd was dumbfounded. At the same time, they were infuriated. Looking at them, their anger was about to erupt. ****, how could you do such a thing? If it weren't for the true God, we wouldn't know how long we would be kept in the dark. You all deserve to die. Kill them, kill them. With that, no one doubted Chu Kuangren's identity as a true god anymore. Killing 3 great divine shadows with a wave of his hand, displaying a miracle, bestowing grace upon the people. With a single sentence, he made countless disciples of the 3 great sects cry and repent on the spot. Could it be that these weren't the methods of a true deity? Moreover, these sects had used despicable means to gain more followers. After being exposed, no one was willing to believe them anymore. Seeing the suffering of the common people, I've created a sect called the Black Heaven Sect. From today onwards, those who join the sect will be under my protection. With me around, my disciples will live in peace and prosperity. Even after death, they will not fall into the cycle of reincarnation. Chu Kuangren stood in the air, his voice echoing throughout the land. His body was surrounded by a myriad of divine lights, and his 10,000 feet tall avatar stood tall. Countless people knelt on the ground and chanted the name of the true God. True God Black Heaven. True God Black Heaven. After doing all that, Chu Kuangren disappeared. The rest were left to the immemorial sage and the others to handle. They were once in charge of the school of White Lotus, so they were familiar with how to develop a sect. Coupled with Chu Kuangren, a living true god, there were countless followers who joined the sect. After that battle, the 3 sects of the Cloudy Wilderness Dao Prefecture quickly collapsed. The people who worshipped the fire deity and water deity turned to the true god Black Heaven, and they were even more fanatical than before. In the Cloudy Wilderness Dao Prefecture, the emperor who had observed everything with his emperor's thought could not help but gulp. I can't believe the heavenly executioner would use such a method to deal with the myriad deity sect. How impressive. But is it really okay to do this? He was a little worried. Chu Kuangren's actions were no different from the other deities. They were all developing their followers and harvesting their power of faith. The war against the deities back then was to destroy the faith of the deities. Now Chu Kuangren had developed a new faith. Is this really okay? At that thought, the emperor reported the matter to the heavenly honorable. In the school of White Lotus, Chu Kuangren, the immemorial sage, the White Lotus leader, and the others were discussing how to develop the Black Heaven sect. In the Black Tiger Dao Prefecture, there's a sect called the Thunder God sect that has risen recently. The next step is to eradicate them. Chu Kuangren said with a yawn. There were many types of deities, so there were also many branches in the myriad deity sect. These branches had now come to the Firmament Dao Prefecture to recruit followers for their respective deities and harvest the power of faith. One could imagine that in the future, there would be all kinds of sects appearing, and the Black Heaven sect would have many enemies. At that moment, the communication compass at Chu Kuangren's waist suddenly vibrated. It was a message from the Heavenly Executioner, 7th Executioner. Oh, you guys can leave for now, Chu Kuangren said to the immemorial sage and the others. The few of them nodded and dispersed. Chu Kuangren turned on the communication compass, and a figure emerged from it. It was 7th Executioner. He looked at Chu Kuangren with a complicated gaze. I heard that you've developed a sect in the Cloudy Wilderness Dao Prefecture, and you even called yourself the true god Black Heaven. What are you trying to do? I'm walking the path of the deity so that they have nowhere else to go, Chu Kuangren said calmly. During the war against the deities, what we did was to destroy the faith of the deities so that the human race would no longer be ignorant. However, what you're doing now is no different from the deities. It's best that you stop immediately. 7th Executioner said solemnly. No, I'm doing this to completely eliminate any future troubles. Not everyone is wise and rational. You guys sealed the deities back then, but why are there still so many people in the human race who believe in them? Not everyone can be like you guys who possess great power and can fight against the deities. In this world, weak beings are the majority, and faith can make them fearless and strengthen their hearts. The people need a faith, and I shall be that faith, Chu Kuangren said in a powerful voice. Chapter 686. If the people need a faith, then let me be that faith, Chu Kuangren said in a powerful voice. Qi Xing could not help but fall silent upon hearing that. He looked at Chu Kuangren and could not help but think of that person in the past. If the humans need a king to lead them to victory, Then let me be that king. That person had also said something similar before. Similar words were equally peerless and high-spirited. The thought in Qi Xing's mind grew stronger and stronger. I hope you can control the situation. You must know that you are now their faith. Once this faith is destroyed, they will have to bear a greater disaster. Qi Xing took a deep breath and chose to believe in Chu Kuangren. It was just like how they believed in that person without any reason back then. I know. That's why I will never lose. Chu Kuangren said calmly. After speaking to Qi Xing, Chu Kuangren discussed with Immemorial Sage and the others for a while. Then he contacted the Black Heaven sect and told them that he would not be returning anytime soon. He asked them to help him with some internal affairs. Late at night in the Black Heaven sect, Chu Kuangren was cultivating. After a few days of development, the disciples of the School of White Lotus had slowly turned into the Black Heaven sect's followers. Not only that, but the Black Heaven sect was also growing in size. Besides that, Chu Kuangren also noticed something interesting. He realized that he seemed to have gained an additional inexplicable power. That power was illusory, unlike the tangible power of spiritual energy or Emperor Qi. It could not be seen or touched. However, Chu Kuangren knew that this power existed. However, he could not use it. Shao AI, analyze this power in my body. Yes, the consciousness of the universe is connecting. Once the connection is successful, the target will be analyzed. Analysis successful. This is the power of faith, a type of spiritual power. The specific functions are: Chu Kuangren received the information in his mind. The power of faith. Chu Kuangren's eyes lit up. This was the power of faith that the deities needed. Can I absorb it? The power of faith is a type of spiritual power. Master's universal cauldron physique can absorb all kinds of energy between heaven and earth. However, this power of faith is not born from heaven and earth, so it cannot be absorbed. It requires a special technique to absorb and use it, the omniscient spirit said. The gods have a way to absorb and refine faith energy. Looks like I'll have to pay more attention to it in the future, Chu Kuangren murmured. Since he was going to become the mysterious true God and accept the worship of billions of living beings, then he couldn't miss out on this enormous power of faith. The other side. In the 10,000 God sect stronghold, a dozen emperors had gathered and were discussing the destruction of the Fire God sect. I can't believe that Chu Kuangren would use such a method to fight against the deities. This guy is really hard to deal with. The cloaked woman gritted her teeth as she spoke. In addition to the last time when Chu Kuangren stopped the demonic realm from invading, Chu Kuangren had ruined the myriad God sect's plans twice in a row. Let's think of a way to deal with this person first. If we don't think of a way to deal with him, it'll be very difficult for us to gain more followers in Firmament Star. An emperor said, deal with this person? How can it be that easy? This person has the heavenly punishment energy, and his cultivation base is improving at an unbelievable speed. He's already a 9th Emperor Realm cultivator now. Unless it's a heavenly honorable or a deity, who else can deal with this guy? The few deities that we've unsealed are all lower deities and intermediate deities. In addition to the 2 upper deities at the bottom of the sea, they're all being held back by the Heavenly Executioner and Heavenly Honorable Su. They can't do anything unless we can unseal another deity and break this balance. With our current abilities, unsealing those few lower deities is already our limit. If we want to improve any further in a short period of time, we'll need to find the corresponding treasures in the God's secret realm. God's secret realm? I heard that the Thunder God sect has discovered a God's secret realm and is currently excavating it. Perhaps they'll find something useful like a divine weapon or something. The emperors of the myriad God sect were all talking at once. Beside them, the cloaked lady took a deep breath and said, we can't put all our hopes on the God's secret realm. Our myriad God sect has been developing for so many years, we can't possibly be helpless against Chu Kuangren. I've decided to activate the Divine Physique project. The other emperor's expressions changed when they heard her words. Goddess, you must think this through. We only brought a few divine physiques to the Firmament Star this time. Every time we use them we'll have one less. This is our trump card against the heavenly honorables. Are you sure you want to do this? Yeah, is it worth it just to deal with Chu Kuangren? Why don't we find an opportunity to attack him together? I don't believe we can't take him down. The cloaked goddess said, we'll have to use the divine physique sooner or later. It's more than suitable to deal with Chu Kuangren now. Alright then. Seeing that the goddess insisted, the others did not say anything else. After all, they were not confident that they could deal with Chu Kuangren alone. The Black Heaven sect was developing at a rapid pace. The Fire God sect, the Water God sect, and the Ice God sect had basically collapsed in the Cloudy Wilderness Prefecture and were now under the Black Heaven sect's control. Chu Kuangren then set his sights on another place. Black Tiger Prefecture. That place was guarded by an emperor of the monster clan. And now, in this place, there was also a sect of gods that was expanding at an extremely fast speed. It was a sect called the Thunder God sect. That was also Chu Kuangren's next target. Lord Heavenly Executioner, the sect of Thunder is not to be underestimated. There are 3 emperors in the sect, and they can even borrow the deity's powers. They're very powerful, so you must be careful when dealing with them. Beside Chu Kuangren, a dark-skinned man said. This burly man looked extremely ferocious. His face was fierce-looking and he had a pair of pale yellow beast eyes. Anyone who was stared at by those beast eyes would feel a chill down their spine. This person was the emperor in charge of the Black Tiger Dao province, the Black Tiger Great Emperor. The Black Tiger Emperor's true form was an ancient ferocious beast. Back in the day he was also a person who dominated an era. However, he behaved very obediently and respectfully in front of Chu Kuangren. No matter how strong a tiger was, how could it dare to stand shoulder to shoulder with the heavens? The thunder deity is one of the 33 lord gods of the celestial tribe. I heard that he's not weak even among the lord gods, Chu Kuangren said with interest. The deities were divided into lower deities, middle deities, upper deities and lord gods. Among the deities in the firmament star, there were a total of 33 lord gods with a large number of subordinate deities. Most of the followers of the Myriad Deity sect also worshipped these 33 lord gods and their subordinate deities. The Fire God sect, the Water God sect, and the Ice God sect that Chu Kuangren had destroyed previously all worshipped the Lord God of Fire, the Lord God of Water, and the Lord God of Ice as well as their respective subordinate deities. However, even among the Lord gods, there were still differences in strength. The Lord God of Fire, the Lord of Water, and the Lord of Ice were ranked at the bottom of the 33 Lord gods. Compared to the Thunder deity they were much weaker. According to the records of the human tribe, the Thunder deity's strength was at least in the top 10 among the Lord gods. Chapter 687. Thunder God Cult. Statues of gods were enshrined in the incomparably splendid temple. Countless believers were praying in front of the statues. Some devout believers even worshipped all the statues. But today, all the statues in the shrine began to tremble one by one, shocking all the believers. What's going on? Why are the statues moving on their own? The cultivators of the Thunder God cult noticed it too. They thought that someone was messing with the statues and quickly sent people to check. However, they did not find anything strange. There were no signs of spiritual energy being exerted on the statues. But if it wasn't manipulated, why would the statues move on their own? The cultivators of the Thunder God cult looked at each other in confusion. Just as they were feeling puzzled, the believers were already in a commotion. Why are the statues like this? Is it because we're not devout enough? But I've already handed over my monthly stipend. Me too. Isn't this enough to express our devoutness? Do we really have to sacrifice our lives? How can this God be like this? God, what instructions do you have? Seeing that the believers' faith was shaken, a cultivator of the Thunder God cult quickly stood up and said to the crowd, "Everyone, don't be anxious. God is moved by your devoutness. That's why he's manifesting and responding to you. Please follow me to worship the Thunder God." After the cultivator said that, the rest looked at each other. They seemed to feel that what he said made sense and then knelt in front of the statues. The Thunder God has manifested. The Thunder God has manifested. But as the crowd worshipped and cheered, the statues did not stop trembling. On the contrary, they trembled even more violently. A bunch of fake gods. Do you think you're worthy of being worshipped? A voice was suddenly heard. Then, under the horrified gazes of the crowd, the statues exploded one by one like firecrackers and turned into countless pieces. A formless and terrifying force instantly shrouded the entire shrine. The cultivators of the Thunder God cult rushed out one after another. A white figure slowly descended from the sky above the shrine. The newcomer was tall and slender with black hair and white clothes. His temperament was extraordinary and his footsteps were light. However, the instant he landed on the ground, a terrifying force that the earth couldn't bear was released. The entire earth trembled violently and huge cracks extended out. The entire Lightning God Palace started to collapse. Countless followers began to flee the palace in a panic. They looked at the white-robed figure with fear in their eyes. "Who are you? How dare you cause trouble in my Thunder God cult?" Furthermore, you dare to speak rudely and slander my god. One of the Thunder God sect's cultivators looked at Chu Kuangren. Due to his fanatical faith in the Thunder God, he completely ignored the difference in their auras and glared at Chu Kuangren. Chu Kuangren glanced at him and unleashed a surge of invisible mind power. Before that cultivator could even react, he was turned into a cloud of blood mist on the spot. A bunch of heretical false gods, they deserve to die. Chu Kuangren said calmly as he slowly lifted his arm and pushed it forward. In an instant, an unimaginably dense surge of energy erupted and surged towards the Thunder God's palace like a tidal wave. With a loud bang, the entire Lightning God palace turned into dust that filled the sky. How dare you! An angry roar was heard as an elder rushed out from the Thunder God cult and glared at Chu Kuangren. How dare you insult a god? You're courting death. Thunder God above, I'll lend you some of my power. That elder was one of the emperors of the Thunder God cult. Sensing that Chu Kuangren's aura was not to be underestimated, he did not hesitate to channel his emperor's chi and the Thunder God's power at the same time. Dark clouds gathered in the sky, and a large amount of violent lightning bolts filled the sky. The rumbling of thunder resounded across thousands of miles. That elder was shrouded in lightning, as if a deity that controlled the power of lightning was attached to his body. This is the Thunder God's power. The senior elder is indeed the Thunder God's chosen emissary. He can use the Thunder God's power. How amazing. This heretic who insults the god will definitely be punished. Countless Thunder God cult's cultivators and followers could not help but look at that scene with fanatical admiration. I'll show you the power of the Thunder God. The elder growled, and the lightning energy around him quickly gathered towards him. With a lift of his arm, an incomparably terrifying lightning energy suddenly erupted and smashed towards Chu Kuangren. However, Chu Kuangren stood his ground and gently lifted his arm. With the invincible heavenly Dharma vortex, that energy was easily neutralized and disintegrated. The senior elder's expression changed. How is this possible? The others were also in disbelief when they saw that. How could the Thunder God's power be blocked so easily? You think you can hurt me with a mere semi-divinity's power? What a joke. Chu Kuangren said indifferently. He took a step forward and cast the 10,000 avatar as well. A gigantic avatar was formed, and its boundless emperor's poise surged in all directions like a tidal wave. ***. The elder's expression changed and he channeled the Thunder God's power to its limit. A blue figure appeared in the void, and its body was surrounded by the power of lightning as it stared coldly at Chu Kuangren. It was a clone of the Lightning God's consciousness. Kill. The Lightning God unleashed a punch and the majestic power of lightning erupted. Even a ninth Emperor Realm cultivator would not be able to withstand such an attack. However, Chu Kuangren had the heavenly punishment Taoist patterns on his body, and when the 10,000 avatar Taoist techniques were added, the ultimate Emperor essence and the perfect Emperor's Tao were unleashed. The 10,000 avatar techniques unleashed a punch, and the combined power of many Taoist physique Taoist techniques instantly exploded. It landed on the Thunder God's fist, and in the blink of an eye, it shattered the opponent's lightning energy. The power of the 10,000 Dharma forms bombarded the shadow of the God of Thunder with irresistible force. In front of the cultivators of the Thunder God sect and countless believers, it was forcibly shattered. Even the old man was not spared. I am the only true God in this world. A semi-divinity should be destroyed. Chu Kuangren stood with his hands behind his back and his back facing the crowd. His emotionless voice reverberated in the sky and exploded in everyone's ears, shocking them. Then he unleashed the ethereal Seven Emotions song. A peculiar Taoist fluctuation spread out and enveloped the Thunder God sect's cultivators. Suddenly, these cultivators lost control of their emotions as they knelt before Chu Kuangren and wailed. They then spilled out everything about the Thunder God sect's despicable ways of recruiting their followers. All the followers were dumbfounded. On the other hand, Chu Kuangren leaped into the air with a myriad of divine halos surrounding his body. With a spring breeze healing technique, he showed everyone a miracle. God, this is the true God. Thank you, true God. Countless followers knelt on the ground and worshipped him. Then the people from the Black Heaven sect arrived and began to sing praises of true God Black Heaven's greatness. At the same time, they also reorganized the Thunder God sect. With the experience of dealing with the Fire God sect and the other sects, dealing with the Thunder God sect was very smooth. However, what caught Chu Kuangren's attention was that the Black Tiger Emperor mentioned that there were 3 emperors in the Thunder God sect. However, he had only killed one. The other two, including the sect leader of the Thunder God sect, were nowhere to be seen. There was also a large group of Thunder God sect's experts who were nowhere to be found. Where did they go? He found a few higher-ups of the Thunder God sect and interrogated them one after another. Only then did he find out that the sect leader and the others had found a secret realm of gods. At this time they were excavating the secret realm. Chapter 688. The Mysterious Realm of Gods. Interesting. Chu Kuangren had once been to a mysterious realm of gods at the bottom of the ocean. There were so many treasures there that it was dazzling. Now, the Thunder God sect had discovered a mysterious realm of gods. He was not in a hurry to snatch it. After all, those people would return sooner or later. So, he continued to stay in the Black Tiger Taoist prefecture and waited. The Black Heaven sect was developing smoothly. With the arrival of the Black Heaven sect, the Thunder God sect in the Black Tiger Taoist prefecture was basically disbanded, and the people turned to True God Black Heaven. On this day, the Thunder God sect leader and the others had returned. However, once they entered the city, they realized that something was not right. Usually when they returned, they would be surrounded by a large group of believers. But now not a single person came to greet them, not even a greeting. Not only that, but they also saw resentment and anger in the eyes of the people, which puzzled the Thunder God sect leader and the others. What just happened? Leader, look. Suddenly, a Thunder God sect cultivator pointed at a collapsed statue in the middle of the plaza, and his expression changed. The Thunder God sect leader looked over and his pupils shrank too. That was because that statue was of the Thunder God, but now it was pushed to the ground. Who did this? The Thunder God sect leader felt a little uneasy. He re-erected the Thunder God statue and scanned the entire city with his emperor's thought. At that moment, a huge domineering aura descended from the sky. A white-robed figure, surrounded by thousands of rays of divine radiance, came flying down from the sky. The newcomer was dressed in white and had black hair. He had an extraordinary temperament, and everywhere he went, white lotuses and phoenix flames paved the way. It was as if a deity had descended. A false deity is not worthy of a monument. Chu Kuangren slowly descended and tapped the tip of his foot on the statue. With a loud bang, the statue exploded and turned into dust that filled the sky. Greetings, True God Black Heaven. Greetings, True God Black Heaven. Countless people knelt down the moment they saw Chu Kuangren, their faces filled with sincerity. This scene made the Thunder God sect leader and the others look extremely grim. At the same time they were in disbelief. What had happened in the past few days? Where did this True God Black Heaven come from? Heretic evil God, how dare you mislead the masses with your lies? The Thunder God religious leader stared at Chu Kuangren. Although he did not know where Chu Kuangren, this true black god, had come from, it was undeniable that this person had offended the Thunder God and overturned his faith. He raised his arm and activated his emperor's chi. A bolt of lightning that resembled a giant python suddenly erupted and blasted towards Chu Kuangren. However, Chu Kuangren gently lifted his hand, and an incredibly dense and pure emperor's chi surged in his palm, effortlessly shattering the thunderbolts. Heretic, taste divine punishment. With a thought, a series of mysterious runes condensed in the void. There were actually 10 emperor-grade lightning talismans. The thunder talisman exploded. Bolts of lightning descended from the sky. They were many times more powerful than the lightning cast by the leader of the Thunder God cult. Moreover, it also contained the power of the heavenly punishment Dalmark. The cultivators of the Thunder God cult who were below the Emperor realm were instantly turned into ashes by the lightning. Even the leader of the Thunder God cult did not have it easy. His robe was torn apart and his body was charred black. *Emenet. O Thunder God, please grant me power. The leader of the Thunder God cult roared and activated the power of the Thunder God. A gigantic shadow of the Thunder God suddenly appeared. Chu Kuangren let out a cold chuckle as an incredibly powerful 10,000 Taoist avatar formed behind him. With a single punch, the multiple surges of Taoist physique power and the heavenly punishment Taoist pattern instantly shattered the Thunder God's shadow into pieces. How is this possible? The leader of the Thunder God cult was in disbelief. However, right after that, the Dharma idol behind Chu Kuangren reached out and grabbed him in its palm, crushing him into a bloody mist with its 5 fingers. This kind of power shocked everyone. In the eyes of countless believers, this was the supreme power of God. After killing the leader of the Thunder God cult, Chu Kuangren took his yin and yang ring and left it to Immemorial Sage and the others to clean up the mess. Back at the Black Heaven sect, Chu Kuangren took out the Thunder God cult's yin and yang ring and moved everything out with his emperor's thought. Suddenly, a large number of treasures appeared in front of him, including various weapons, supreme elixirs and the like. All of these treasures combined were equivalent to the net worth of a few hundred emperors. Chu Kuangren could not help but light up. Oh, divine sources! Chu Kuangren found a few divine sources among these treasures. These divine sources were about the size of a soccer ball. Although they did not contain as much energy as the one he found last time, they were not bad either. These divine sources were enough for Chu Kuangren's cultivation to improve further. Not to mention that there were so many other treasures. Looking at these treasures, Chu Kuangren fell into deep thought. Aside from the divine sources, the other treasures were not very useful to him. After all, he was already a 9th Emperor realm cultivator. It could even be said that he was invincible among those below the heavenly honorable realm. I'll pick a few more useful items and leave some for the Black Heaven sect to develop. I'll send the rest to the front lines. Chu Kuangren murmured. The front lines were in a state of emergency. He could not let the emperors at the front lines suffer from a shortage of resources. Although he was not at the front lines now, he wanted to do his part. Then he picked a few more treasures. Among them there was an azure crystal that caught his attention. That crystal was prismatic in shape and contained a divine energy. There were also countless complicated Taoist patterns intertwined within it. Shall AI analyze this item for me? Yes. With the spirit of omniscience's ability activated, Chu Kuangren soon understood that this item was the source of a deity's power, a godhead. When a deity was killed, their power would turn into a godhead and fall to the ground. A godhead was extremely tough and almost indestructible. However, it could be refined. When a cultivator refined a godhead, there was a chance that he or she could convert the divine energy contained within the godhead into his or her own body, allowing him or her to master the divine energy. However, by doing so, it was tantamount to transforming oneself into a deity. From then on, one would no longer be able to increase one's cultivation level through acquired cultivation. Instead, one could only absorb the power of faith like a deity. Unless it was a very powerful deity's godhead, a cultivator would consider refining it. Otherwise, any cultivator with a little bit of ambition would not refine it. The godhead in Chu Kuangren's hand was only a lower deity's godhead, so very few people would refine it. Ordinary cultivators absorb a godhead and transform into a deity because their bodies could not adapt to the divine energy. However, divine energy is also a type of strange energy that was born from the heavens and earth. Master has the universal cauldron physique, which can refine all kinds of strange energy between the heavens and earth. This godhead can be refined without any side effects. The spirit of omniscience said. Chu Kuangren smiled in satisfaction. This lower deity's godhead contained a huge amount of energy. It was even more powerful than the divine source that he obtained last time. If he could absorb and refine it, he could not help but lick his lips. Perhaps it could help him break through to the Emperor realm. Above the Emperor realm was the heavenly honorable realm. It had only been a few years since Chu Kuangren became an emperor. To be able to break through to the heavenly honorable realm in just a few short years was like a fantasy. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.